speaking through the radio. The sun is just starting to glisten over the dew-covered grass as Naruto and Sakura make their way across the training ground towards Sasuke. The trio greet each other, then Naruto and Sakura begin their morning exercises. How can two clanless losers be stronger than I, an Uchiha? Sasuke thinks as he sees them doing the tree-climbing exercise. After 2.5 hours, Naruto and Sakura start meditating. Joe, Kakashi says as he appears in a puff of smoke. He then notices that Naruto and Sakura are in different and better ninja outfits than what they were wearing in the academy. He looks at Naruto and smiles inwardly at the fact that he replaced the Kill Me Now orange jumpsuit with black Umbu-style pants, a fishnet shirt with a black long-sleeve shirt, which has the Uzumaki swirl on his left shoulder. Sakura has her long pink hair tied into a ponytail. She's also wearing black Umbu-style pants and a red long-sleeve shirt with the Haruno crest on the back located in the center. They both have metal arm and leg guards, 2 pouches on their back hips, and their headbands on their foreheads to complete their outfits. What's this test that we're supposed to do to actually become Chunin? Naruto asks in a bored tone. It's called the bell test, Kakashi says, reaching into his pocket and pulls out 2 bells. Your goal for the next 2 hours is to try and grab these bells for me. You can use any methods you see fit. Don't be afraid to come at me with the intent to kill. But Kakashi-sensei, you only have 2 bells. What happens to the person who doesn't get one? Sakura asks, even though she already knows the true meaning behind the test. The person who can't get a bell from me by noon gets to watch the others eat their lunch, as well as be sent back to the academy. He says, pulling 4 bento boxes and a timer out from the pouch on his back hip. If you hope to succeed, then don't be afraid to come at me with the intent to kill. Kakashi repeats, setting the bento boxes and timer on a nearby rock. I'm an Uchiha. There's no way I can't fail this with those 2 bumbling idiots over there. Sasuke thinks to himself. Naruto and Sakura exchange a worried look, knowing that they'll have to get the Uchiha's assistance in order to pass the test. The test will begin when I say go. 1, 2, 3, go! As they disappear, Kakashi pulls out an orange book and grins. With Naruto and Sakura. Naruto, we need to get Sasuke to work with us if we want to pass this test. Sakura says. Yeah, but how are you going to get him to work with us? Naruto questions. He thinks that he's below teamwork and doesn't need anybody. I may have an idea. Follow me, Sakura says, and they make their way towards Sasuke's hiding place, making sure to check for traps that may be lying in wait. What are you 2 doing here? Sasuke asks when he sees them approach his location. Sasuke, shut up and listen. We know the real reason behind this test. This test isn't about getting the bells. Sensei wants to see us work together and use teamwork to retrieve them. Think back to all the teams sent out on missions. They're always a 4-man squad, never 3. Now, are you ready to work with us? If not, then we'll fail before we even start. If we all come at him randomly, alone and with no plan, then we'll never succeed. He's a Jonin, and we're just newly appointed Genin. We have to work together. Sakura explains in a hurried whisper. I don't need any help from anyone. I'm an Uchiha. I can do this on my own. He glares at her with cold eyes. We have to work together to pass this test. Sakura pleads. What don't you understand? Sasuke ignores her and charges him blindly, kunai in hand. Naruto and Sakura decide to watch and see what happens, already knowing that he'll fail without their assistance. Kid, activate your Rinnegan. You'll be able to copy whatever jutsus they decide to use and watch their movements much more easily. Kurama instructs Naruto. Naruto channels chakra through his eyes in order to activate the Rinnegan. They notice Sasuke attempting to go for an axe kick, trying to daze Kakashi and snatch a bell, but Kakashi anticipates this and grabs Sasuke's ankle. Sasuke reacts by twisting his body and reaching out for a bell with his right hand. Kakashi throws Sasuke, who rotates his body sharply and lands on his feet, coming to a skidding halt. Sasuke flies through several hand seals. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Sasuke shouts when he breaths out a giant flame. Kakashi's eye widens because no Genin should have the chakra required to use an elemental jutsu. Naruto and Sakura decide they've watched enough and decide to finally help Sasuke. Naruto cancels the Rinnegan and attacks Kakashi in a synchronized fashion with Sakura. After 5 minutes of fighting, Sakura jumps back and starts doing some hand seals. Demonic illusion, descending hell. Sakura whispers. Then Kakashi notices a tremendous ball of fire falling from the heavens. Realizing that he's been placed under a genjutsu, Kakashi puts his hands together to form the ram hand sign. Release, Kakashi says. He then notices that Naruto and Sakura are standing in front of him, dangling the bells he was trying to keep from them. A few seconds later, the timer goes off. Well, Kakashi-sensei, looks like we grabbed the bells in time. Naruto exclaims. Kakashi looks dumbfounded. Yes, it would appear that way. There's only one thing left for me to say. You, pass, Kakashi says with an eye smile. But, how did you guys get the bells? Sakura begins to explain. Well, after we tried to get Sasuke to cooperate with us, he just charged him blindly, claiming he didn't need our help. Naruto and I decided to stay back and wait for the proper moment to jump in. When that time came, we decided use straight taijutsu, trying to knock you off balance so that we could grab the bells. After seeing that our tactic wouldn't work, I placed you under a genjutsu. While you were under the influence of my genjutsu, Naruto and I had just enough time to rush in and grab the bells. I'm very impressed that you both were able to think that far ahead. He turns to Sasuke. You can go. I need to speak to Naruto and Sakura alone. Sasuke gives him a look like he doesn't care and leaves. Now then, Kakashi continues. Sakura, how are you able to use a B-rank genjutsu? Kakashi asks curiously. Kakashi-sensei, Sakura and I will explain everything soon, but not now. Anybody could eavesdrop on our conversation, so meet us at my parents' house later. Naruto says. What? How? Kakashi asks in surprise, but is interrupted by Sakura. Like Naruto said, this is sensitive. Just meet us there, and we'll tell you everything you need to know. Okay, sensei. She questions. Fine, Kakashi responds. I trust you to tell me everything. And I mean everything. He says in a serious tone. We will, sensei. Naruto and Sakura reply in unison. Many times skip. 20 minutes later, at the Namake's compound, Kakashi arrives interested in hearing their explanation. Naruto speaks first. Well, Kakashi-sensei, I guess we should start from the beginning. It all started after I failed the Genin exam. Mizuki-sensei told me that I could pass if I stole the scroll of sealing. I was led into believing that he wanted to help me pass my exam, when in reality he was a rogue ninja only interested in stealing the scroll from our village. Irika-sensei eventually stepped in and helped prevent his success. But I'm sure you already know all of this. But what you don't know is what happened after Irika-sensei dropped me off at the old man's, and that's where it all begins. Flashback. Naruto, what is it you wish to speak with me about? Sarutobi asks his surrogate grandson. Okay, old man, don't lie to me. Is my father really the 4th Hokage, and was my mother really the 2nd host of the Nine Tails? Naruto asks with a serious look on his face. The 3rd Hokage sighs and asks Naruto to sit down. Yes, Naruto they are. Back when the village was under attack by the Nine Tails, your father sacrificed his life in order to seal away the Nine Tails. But he couldn't seal it into just anything. He had to seal it into a human, a newborn infant to be more specific. He couldn't ask any other parent to give up their child if he wasn't willing to do the same. So he looked towards his only son with hope in his eyes and decided that you were the only one capable of keeping the Nine Tails at bay. The 3rd Hokage has tears in his eyes after saying this. Do you know why the Nine Tails attacked our village? Naruto asks. It's because after he was extracted from my mother, Madara Uchiha placed Kurama in a genjutsu with his Mangekyo Sharingan. Hiruzen had his mouth agape at this revelation. Naruto, that's impossible. The 1st Hokage killed Madara at the Valley of the End. Sarutobi says. Naruto shakes his head. I'm sorry, old man, but that's not true. Before you say anything, Kurama is not as bad as he seems. He explained to me that only the Mangekyo Sharingan has the power to control a tailed beast. And the only one that achieved this advanced form of the Sharingan was Madara Uchiha. Madara used Kurama to attack the leaf, for revenge of not being made the 1st Hokage. Hiruzen just looked at Naruto with a puzzled look on his face. Naruto, Are you sure you can trust such a demon after it attacked our village? Yes, old man, I am. After all, I've lived with it for 12 years now. I think I know it better than anyone. Hiruzen just nods his head. Very well, Naruto, you are dismissed. Hiruzen says, and Naruto gets up and leaves. In flashback. At first, Kakashi just stares at Naruto after listening to his long explanation. You know, Naruto, that's quite a lot to take in. Kakashi says after a while. I understand, Kakashi-sensei, but it's the truth. There is something else I want to talk to you about. What do you know about the Rinnegan? Naruto asks. Not much. Nobody has seen it since the Sage of the Six Paths. Kakashi says. Why do you ask? Because I have the Rinnegan. Naruto says, activating it. How did you come into possession of the Rinnegan? Kakashi asks as his eye widens in shock. It's supposed to be inherited. The Rinnegan isn't like a regular ocular jutsu. Not everyone receives it. The only way to unlock it is by witnessing a loved one die or a very traumatic event. After hearing this, Kakashi freezes in place. What was it that you witnessed? Naruto sighs and was going to speak, but Sakura spoke first. It was when I almost died. Sakura says, and Kakashi's eye widens even more. We were attacked by the villagers, and Naruto tried to get me to leave, but I wouldn't listen. One of the villagers grabbed a kunai that was nearby on the ground and ran towards me with the kunai poised to kill. I tried to stop him, but I couldn't move. Naruto says, taking over. Next thing I knew, she was stabbed in the side and bleeding out profusely. Kakashi had his mouth, even if no one could see it, open. I had passed out, and the next thing I knew, I was in front of the Nine Tails. Naruto continues. He explained that I was in my mind. He also explained to me who my parents were, but I didn't bring it up with the old man yet because I didn't want him to know that I knew yet. After all, I was just 6 years old. He also told me that I had unlocked a Kekkei called the Rinnegan and explained to me what it was. I don't know how long I was with him, but when I woke up, I was seeing things differently. Old man Hokage was there and asked me if I was feeling all right. I explained that I was seeing things in a lot more detail. Things were slower and I was able to see chakra. He then held up a mirror and I could see that I still had the Rinnegan activated. Kakashi nods his head and apologizes because he was one of the Umbu assigned to watch Naruto and he wasn't there to protect them. It's all right, sensei, I forgive you. Naruto says, it's not your fault that the villagers can't see the difference between a scroll and a kunai. Also, Sakura has been living here ever since the attack. If she was going to be friends with me, her parents were going to disown her. We've been training in my family's taijutsu style ever since. We've also been reading about elemental manipulation, seals, medical jutsu, jinjutsu, and my family's kenjutsu style for the past 7 years. The reason that I was dead last in the academy was because I didn't want to attract attention to myself, because what would someone think if the Nine-Tails brat was getting stronger? I also wanted to be on the same team as Sakura, and vice versa. That's more of an explanation than I was expecting. Kakashi says, looking at Naruto, we were going to tell you about your parents on your 16th birthday, or the day you became a Chunin, whichever happened to come first, but since you already know, that's no longer an issue. Kakashi says, then looks at the clock and heads towards the door. Well, it's getting late, and we got a lot to do tomorrow. Meet me at the Wakazashi Bridge tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Don't be late. We should be saying that to you, sensei. Usually we're the ones waiting on you. Sakura says, and she and Naruto laugh. And with that statement, Kakashi disappears out the door into the night. Naruto turns to Sakura. We should probably turn soon. It's getting late, and we can't risk jeopardizing our missions tomorrow just because we're tired. Naruto says and starts to head to bed, but Sakura grabs him by the arm, turns him around, and kisses him square on the lips. Good night, Naruto, Sakura says while leaving, a blush on her face. Naruto simply stands there, awestruck by what just happened. Within a few moments, he snaps out of his stupor and heads to his bedroom, and is out within minutes after his head hits his pillow. When morning comes, Sakura enters Naruto's room with a bucket of cold water and dumps it on him. Naruto wakes up with such a high-pitched scream that if it weren't for the privacy seals, he'd have woken up the entire village. Naruto was angry to the point where the water was beginning to evaporate off his face and intensifies when he sees Sakura rolling on the floor laughing and holding her stomach. Naruto reluctantly gets up and begins to take a shower, while Sakura starts making breakfast, still laughing. After a shower, Naruto makes his way downstairs to get some breakfast. On the table, there is some toast, eggs, and a pot of coffee for the two of them. After eating, they make their way towards the training ground in the backyard and begin their morning exercises: 500 sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, and laps around the training ground. After their morning warm-up, they both create 500 shadow clones each and break off into different sections of training. 100 focus on water walking and fighting, another 100 focus on training with katanas, a third group of 100 train in taijutsu, the fourth group work on channeling chakra through different parts of their body, and the last group spins kunai on the tips of their fingers. After they complete their workout, they realize it's time to meet their team, so they start making their way towards Team 7's meeting place, a bridge over a crystal-clear river in which you can see your reflection perfectly. When they arrive, they see an irritated look on Sasuke's face. "Where the hell have you two been? I've been waiting here for nearly 3 hours now." He yells at them. The duo begin to laugh, which further irritates the Uchiha. "What are you laughing at?" He scoffs. "I demand you tell me what's so funny." Just as soon as the laughing had began, it ceased. There was a moment of silence in which Naruto and Sakura gave the Uchiha a look which made Itachi seem like a small kitten. Naruto speaks with a voice that makes Sasuke pale, as it's laced with demonic chakra. "First of all, Uchiha, you don't demand anything from us. Secondly, Kakashi-sensei is notorious for being late. Maybe you should stop thinking about revenge and start paying attention. Isn't that right, sensei?" Naruto asks Kakashi in his normal voice, as he appears in a swirl of leaves. To say that Kakashi was surprised that Naruto, the supposed dead last, was able to sense him would be an understatement. He shook the thought away and remembered that this is not the same Naruto from the academy, and answers the question. "That is correct, Naruto. A ninja must always know their surroundings and sense someone approaching, much like Naruto did." Kakashi responds. That alone infuriates the last remaining Uchiha. How is he, the dead last, able to sense him when I, an Uchiha, could not? Sasuke thought, with a hateful glare towards the blonde. Kakashi, noticing this, decides to ease the tension by speaking up. "Okay, team, now that we are all here, let's head to the administration building and get our first mission as Team 7, shall we?" Naruto sighs. "Let's just get these D ranks done so we can get in some actual team training today." For the first time in their history, Naruto and Sasuke actually agreed on something. Not that Sasuke would admit to it. Administration building. When they get there, they're greeted with a surprise. "Hey, old man, what are you doing here?" Naruto asks in surprise. "Naruto, that is no way to speak to the Hokage," Kakashi says with a look on his face, suggesting he was worried that he'd get talked to about Naruto's attitude. "That is quite all right, Kakashi. Naruto may call me that. In fact, I'm relieved that not everyone is so formal." He looks at the Uchiha, and Sasuke freezes. "Well, I'm sure you want to get started. Let's see what we got here." "Ah, that's perfect. You are to retrieve a lost pet, Madame Shijimi's cat Tora." Naruto pales in realization at the type of mission they got. "What? Not the cat from hell?" Naruto screams. "What is your problem, loser? It's just a stupid cat. If you can't handle a pesky feline, maybe you should quit being a ninja before it's too late," Sasuke says coldly. "No, Sasuke, you don't understand. We've heard stories about a hellcat named Tora from other teams while we were still in the academy." Sakura interjects. "A lot of them end up covered in scratches." "Whatever, I can do this myself. I don't need two clanless losers holding me back," Sasuke says with a tone that could curdle blood. "Fine, if you want to do this mission on your own, then fine by me. Any objections, sensei?" Sakura asks, looking at Kakashi, whom simply responds by shaking his head no. "Good, I'll be back before you know it. Just wait here," Sasuke spits back, before leaving to get the stupid cat. After half an hour, the rest of Team 7 decides to check on Sasuke's progress. It doesn't take long to find him, with all the yells of "stupid cat." What they see makes Naruto and Sakura laugh, while Kakashi just shakes his head. Sasuke's face down on the ground, in a puddle of mud. Naruto and Sakura get a hold of themselves and look at Kakashi, who just nods. Naruto and Sakura take to the trees and spot the cat. Sakura does the tiger hand seal, Temple of Nirvana, Jutsu. Sakura says, which puts the cat to sleep. When they return to the administration building, Sasuke has a look of pure hatred on his face and returns the cat back to the Fire Lord's wife, who is thanking him while strangling the cat. The look on Sasuke's face told everyone in the room exactly what he was thinking. Yes, kill it. Kill it. Ha ha ha. Kakashi decides to speak up at that point. Now that we've returned the cat, how about a lighter mission for him and the rest of Team 7? Hiruzen nods in agreement. Very well, Hiruzen says and looks through the mission requests. He then hands him a shopping mission for an old lady who can't shop anymore because of her bad back. Naruto and Sakura, the only genin of Team 7 who seem to have a heart, gladly accept while Sasuke only grumbles. After 8 more successful missions, the day draws to a close and Team 7 decides to turn in for the night after much begging to Kakashi. When Sakura and Naruto arrive at the compound, they go into the basement and stop in front of a wall. Naruto flies through a long series of hand seals, then places both hands on the wall. Release, Naruto says, and the wall slides to the left, and an office of sorts appears from behind the wall. Along the walls, there are pictures and paintings of the 4th Hokage standing next to a pregnant Kushina holding her stomach. Bookshelves are in the back with scrolls and books stacked up to the ceiling. On the 2 sides of the office, there are 2 desks facing each other, both with mountains of papers and several books on them. Time skip. Naruto is studying the Hiratian seals, but he's nowhere near completion. He puts it to the side and runs his hands through his hair. Sakura looks up. Naruto, are you alright? She asks with concern in her voice. Yeah, I'm fine, Naruto says. I'm just having issues completing the Hiratian to the point where you wouldn't need a seal to transport yourself. What are you working on? He asks Sakura. I'm studying your mother's medical journals. There's a recipe in here for a food pill, quite similar to the Akimichi clan's food pill, except that they're much less dangerous to use. Sakura replies. Naruto nods his head. That's interesting. Is it completed? He asks curiously. Not quite. It seems that she discovered most of it, but there's still a little bit that needs to be tweaked. I should be able to complete it in no time. Sakura responds. Well, it's getting late. We should head to bed. If tomorrow is anything like today, we'll need our energy. Naruto suggests, and Sakura nods in agreement. They both head upstairs towards their respective rooms and go to sleep. 3-month time skip. Naruto, hearing his alarm go off, decides to wake up before Sakura gets the chance to wake him up again. Shivering at the thought, he makes his way towards the kitchen and notices bacon and scrambled eggs on the table and begins to wonder where Sakura is. He decides to have a bite to eat before taking a shower. 5 minutes later, Sakura comes down and gives Naruto a kiss on the cheek, and they bid each other good morning. Naruto gets up and heads to the bathroom for a quick shower. Then they do their morning exercises, and they leave to meet Team 7. They get to the bridge, and to their surprise, Kakashi is on time for once. Since he has always been known for being tardy, this makes Naruto and Sakura suspicious of him. Well, it's about time you two show up. I've been here since 8, waiting for you. Naruto draws a kunai, as does Sakura. Who the hell are you? And what have you done with Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asks defensively. What are you blabbering about, you idiot? This is Sensei. Sasuke says, a little irritated at the blonde who simply ignores him, which pisses him off even more. If you really are Kakashi Hatake, copy Nina the Leaf, then show us your left eye. If you don't, I'll report your ass to a Biki for interrogation, Sakura says, and Kakashi simply lifts his headband, but poofs away before his eyes shone. Congratulations for responding correctly when a comrade appears out of character. Kakashi says when he appears. Sasuke, you didn't even suspect the clone of being an imposter. If Sasuke was mad before, he was now furious at what he'd just heard. Kakashi-sensei, why were you testing us in whether or not you were who you said you were? Naruto asks with a quizzical look on his face. Well, you 3 have been doing an excellent job lately, and I think you're all ready for your first C-rank mission. I was testing you because anything can happen on a mission outside the village. 2 sets of eyes widen in surprise, another remaining neutral, /N. Can you guess who? Well, shall we get going then? Kakashi asks, and they make their way to the administration building to get their first C rank. Once they get there, A kind face is there to greet them. Ah, good morning, Team 7. Good morning, Lord Hokage. I am here to request a C-rank mission for my team, as they have proven that they are worthy of tougher challenges than what the D ranks give. Kakashi explains. Hiruzen nods his head. Very well, we have the perfect. He starts to say, but is interrupted by Iruka. Lord Hokage, I apologize, but you can't be serious. They're just fresh out of the Academy Genin, and I trained them myself. Naruto's scores were the worst. There's no way that they're ready for C-rank missions. Iruka explains. Iruka, calm yourself. If Kakashi thinks they're ready, then so do I. The third Hokage retorts. Kakashi, you shall get your C-rank. Bring him in, he says to the guard, who nods and comes back with a man dressed in tattered clothes, reeks of alcohol, and is carrying a bottle of sake in his right hand. I hired ninjas, not little kids, the man says after taking a drink. Before the man could say another word, a voice appears behind him. You do best never to insult a ninja, understood? It may very well be the last thing you do. The voice says and disappears in a puff of smoke. The man pales at what just happened and drops his bottle of sake in shock. When the bottle shatters on the cold, hard ground, he snaps out of his stupor. What? A clone? I didn't even sense the usage of chakra. Damn it, just how strong is this loser? No, he can't be that strong. It's just a fluke. I'm an elite Uchiha. Sasuke thought. Naruto, don't kill the client. It's bad for business. Kakashi says nonchalantly, and Tazuna pales again at how the Jonin worded it. Sorry, sensei. Naruto says with his head low. I retract my last statement. The man says, sweating a bit. Your job is to escort me back to the land of waves, where I'm building a bridge. My name is Tazuna, Master Bridge Builder. Tazuna says, still shocked by the events that had just transpired. Okay, team, go home and get packed, then head to the main gates. We leave in an hour. Kakashi instructs, as Sasuke was in the process of leaving. Will you actually be on time for once? Sakura asks with a smile. Yes, I will meet you at the main gate in an hour. Kakashi says, and then disappears in a swirl of leaves, leaving Naruto and Sakura alone. Well, shall we go? Sakura asks Naruto, and he nods his head. They both disappear in an elemental Shunshin, Naruto using flames, Sakura using lightning. Everyone in the room, except Tazuna and Hiruzen, had the exact same thought going through their minds. Where did they learn elemental manipulation, and to that degree? Just how strong will these two become? Hiruzen thinks with a smile on his face. A/N. Below are questions answered that were put where Chapter 4 was. I put it here as it makes more sense than 2 chapters after. Underneath comments. Interesting, but I would like some sort of explanation for how Sakura has such high chakra levels. Was it Fuinjutsu of some sort? Or has the fox somehow affected her like it has Naruto? I applaud Underneath for being one of the few to recognize Minato as a sealing master, and that Naruto, being his son, could learn something from his father's notes. Also, Desh's 23 comments. Yet is really a bit rushed, the writing style. And more importantly, Naruto and Sakura are far too strong for their age. If you want them to be so freaking strong, you should explain a lot more at how they became that. Without a proper sensei, it's really hard, and you don't want QB to take that job, since it would be next to impossible for Sakura to interact with him. In my opinion, it would be enough if Naruto and Sakura are low Chunin level. As fresh out Academy Genin, it would definitely be enough. Yes, they do have high chakra levels. Sakura's are high because of the seal that Minato used. Naruto already had high chakra levels, so he just got better control. To answer your question, yes, it is sealing. For their chakra levels, it's a chakra restriction seal, increasing their reserves and getting better chakra control. It's not to be confused with the chakra binding seal, where the one wearing it can't use chakra at all. The chakra restriction seal increases their chakra usage for normal, everyday jutsus. That's how their chakra levels have increased to such a degree. For their speed and strength, it's gravity seals. This seal increases the amount of physical exertion that the user outputs, therefore increasing their physical capabilities at a faster, more alarming rate. For example, Rock Lee during the Chunin exam preliminaries, except those were paperweights rather than gravity seals. It's the same concept though. If you add all of this up for 7 years, since they've been training since 6 years old, which I originally added to the story, it's not too hard to believe that they're as powerful as they are. On top of that, Naruto has the Rinnegan. Plus, Minato Wasa Seal's master, and Naruto and Sakura have both been studying from his notes. Also, the scrolls and books detailing how to use them correctly, so they don't hurt themselves. As for who taught them, nobody really. Kurama helped Naruto with the Rinnegan. But that's it. The rest came from notes. And yes, their overall skill is mid-high Chunin level with some low-level Jonin. Examples: stealth, sealing, and traps are all low Jonin level. Bankai 777 comments, I hope that Sakura becomes a great doctor just like Tsunade and Shizi. An eruption of flames and lightning engulf the Namake's training ground as Naruto and Sakura appear. They make their way towards the armory and begin sealing shuriken, kunai, sunbon, and paper tags, along with an assortment of other various ninja equipment. Sakura looks at Naruto. Do you think that we'll need our katanas as well? Or should we leave them here? She asks. Naruto shakes his head. Remember what Kakashi-sensei said? Anything can happen on a mission. I think we should bring them, just to be safe. Naruto replies, and Sakura agrees. And within seconds the katanas are sealed within their wrists. Well, we have a half an hour until we have to meet them. What would you like to do? Sakura asks. Naruto thinks about what they could be doing for the next 30 minutes. After a couple minutes, he comes up with a suggestion. I have an idea. Follow me, Naruto says to Sakura. They then leave the compound, take to the roofs, and make their way towards the memorial stone. Naruto, why are we going to the memorial stone? Sakura questions. I have a thought, but I don't know if it's true. This is the only way we can find out. We're here. Keep quiet. He responds. They look out from behind a tree and see Kakashi standing in front of it with his hand on a name. Let's go. Naruto whispers, and Sakura nods in agreement. They move out from behind the tree, slowly approaching Kakashi. You do realize that you'll have to try better in order to sneak up on a Jonin, right? Kakashi says out loud, without breaking eye contact with the memorial stone. Naruto and Sakura freeze in their tracks. How did you two know that I'd be here? Naruto is the first to regain his composure. I didn't know for sure. I just had a hunch. I was going over my father's notes and came across a report from a mission you were involved in. It described that you lost one of your friends and comrades, Obito Uchiha. Is that how you got your Sharingan, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura interjects, and Kakashi slowly nods, his eye watery from the memory. Yeah, it is. That mission went so wrong from the beginning. Your father ordered us to destroy an important bridge that Rock was using to resupply their own shinobi. Minato-sensei gave me one of his special kunai, in case we ran into trouble, and we did. Rin, our other teammate, was kidnapped, and me, with my pride, insisted on continuing the mission. Obito stopped me and told me that those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. He then took off to go rescue her. I followed shortly afterwards, and we did rescue her, but as we were exiting the location that she was being held captive, we were attacked by Rock Shinobi. I didn't use the kunai your father gave me, and that decision cost Obito his life. So I come here and apologize for everything I did to him while he was still alive. Kakashi says solemnly, well, it's nearly time to meet Tazuna at the main gates. Do you have everything prepared? Kakashi asks, turning around, and Naruto and Sakura pull out a couple of scrolls. Kakashi shakes his head. I should have known. You are your father's son after all. Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi all leave for the main gate. When they get there, they see Tazuna and Sasuke both waiting for them. Sasuke speaks up. Wow, look at that. Kakashi is actually on time for once. Now that we're all here, shall we get going? Kakashi says, ignoring Sasuke's remark. The trio nods, and the group makes way towards the land of waves. The group travels in silence for a while, and eventually Sakura breaks the silence. Tazuna, you're from the land of waves, correct? Yeah, what of it? He retorts with a tone which screams irritation. Sakura looks at Kakashi. There are no ninjas in the land of waves. Are there, Kakashi-sensei? She asks. That is correct. Some countries, like Wave, don't want, need, or simply can't afford a ninja village. The major villages are known as the 5 great hidden villages: Leaf, Sand, Rock, Cloud, and Mist. These are the only villages with Kage: the Hokage, Kazekage, Tsuchikage, Reikage, and Mizukage. The Kage are the strongest ninja in their respective villages, and thus are appointed as the new Kage. Each village has a different way of selecting their Kage. For example, in the Hidden Rock Village, whoever beats the current Tsuchikage gains the title of Kage. There are smaller ninja villages among the 5 great nations as well, such as the Hidden Waterfall Village and the Hidden Grass Village. Kakashi responds, "So, we aren't going to run into any foreign ninja then?" Sakura asks, "No, just bandits and thugs at the most." Kakashi answers. Tazuna gets a worried look on his face at the mention of this. This doesn't go unnoticed by Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi, but they disregard it and continue walking. Time skip. After walking for several hours, the group comes across a puddle of water. Naruto and Sakura look at Kakashi, who just nods his head without looking up from his book. When they are about 20 feet away, 2 figures rise up out of the water and hurl a chain towards Kakashi, wrapping around him. "One down, 1 to go," they comment, and Kakashi is ripped into pieces. Naruto and Sakura swiftly reach the 2 assassins and quickly dispose of them before they could manage to do anything else. "Congratulations, you two, but I wish you would have left one alive for interrogation," Kakashi says as he makes his way out of the tree line. Naruto and Sakura have sheepish looks on their faces. "As this was your first kill, we will talk later if needed." They both nod their heads in understanding. "We wanted their bounties, Kakashi-sensei." The demon brothers have huge ones on their heads, Naruto says, while Sakura nods her head. Kakashi sweat drops at Naruto's remark. "Wait, how do you know who those 2 were?" Kakashi asks with a serious tone. "The old man gave me a bingo book," Naruto says, and that's how Sasuke heard it. Kakashi and Sakura hear it as it's my old man's. Kakashi just nods his head. "Kakashi-sensei, I thought you died. How are you still alive?" Sasuke asks, with disbelief in his voice. Kakashi says something that sounds like doubting his skills as a jonin. He points to the spot where he died, and Sasuke now notices a shredded log. Naruto, Sakura, and I noticed the puddle, and when it hasn't rained for months, found it a little odd. So, I used a substitution when they attacked. He then rounds on Tazuna. "I think it's time that you told us the truth, Tazuna. Why are there ninja after you? If they were after me, they wouldn't have said 1 down, 1 to go. They would have just left after killing me. Also, they couldn't have known that I would be on this mission, because we just got it today. The 3 Chunin couldn't have been the targets either, since their names haven't been made known yet. So there's some explaining you need to do," Kakashi said sternly. Tazuna nods his head and explains the situation in the Land of Waves. He explains how Gato took over and made a monopoly of the shipping industry. He also explains how he is the only thing standing in Gato's way. As he was explaining, Naruto and Sakura had looks of horror on their faces while Sasuke had one of indifference. When Tazuna finishes, Kakashi looks at the 3 Chunin. "Well, what do you 3 think? Do we continue, or shall we head back?" he asks. Naruto and Sakura look at each other and nod their heads. "We will continue on, no matter what." "Believe it," Naruto says. "You do realize we could be up against Jonin from here on out, right?" Kakashi questions. They just nod their heads. "What about you, Sasuke?" "We continue. I want to test my power," Sasuke says, glaring as Naruto and Sakura. Kakashi sighs. "Okay then, I guess you're in luck, Tazuna. We'll continue on with the mission. But when you get your village back up on its feet, you'll pay for the A-rank mission, understand?" Kakashi asks sternly. Tazuna just nods his head and thanks them endlessly. The group continues on their way. "Ah, Tazuna, I was beginning to worry," a man says when they reach a small paddle boat. "Yeah, I was fortunate to hire strong shinobi to protect me while I finished the bridge." When Tazuna says this, the Leaf Ninja all sweat drop except for Sasuke, who was smiling at that. The rest know that his ego has just been fed. Kakashi clears his throat. "Tazuna, shall we move on from here and continue to your home?" Kakashi asks, and Tazuna nods his head in agreement. "Well, that is why I'm here, to escort Tazuna to the other side, but we have to be quiet or we will attract Gado's thugs and other unwanted attention. The boat owner says, and the Leaf Ninja all nod their heads. They make their way across the water in a slow fashion. When the bridge came into view, Naruto almost yells, but Sakura stops him just before he could by slamming her hand over his mouth and shakes her head. When Sakura removes her hand, all Naruto does is smile sheepishly. When the boat reaches shore, they thank the man for the ride and proceed on their way. As they were walking, Naruto creates a crystal kunai faster than anyone can see and throws it into the trees. When Naruto goes to check it out, all he sees is a scared rabbit. However, what was peculiar about this rabbit was the color of its fur. Kakashi-sensei, are you seeing this? Naruto asks. Kakashi nods head and responds. Yes, this rabbit's fur is white instead of brown. It must have been kept inside for substitution. They make their way back to the others when all of a sudden Kakashi yells, "Get down!" Naruto grabs Sasuke and Sakura pulls down Tazuna, just as a giant sword flies over their heads. It embeds itself into a tree and a huge man appears on the handle of it. Zabuza no brows Momochi, kitten of the hidden mist. Naruto insults. Sakura starts laughing hysterically, and Kakashi's using all of his expert training to hold back his laughter. "Oh my god, nice one, kid. That's hilarious," Kurama says while wiping a tear away with one of his tails. "Thanks, Kurama. It really didn't take a lot of thought," Naruto replies through his mental link between them. Sasuke has a bewildered look on his face at the thought that Naruto had just insulted an enemy. A Jonin, no less. "Naruto, what the hell are you thinking? Insulting a Jonin?" Sasuke yells in surprise. "Yeah, Blondie, why don't you listen to your teammate with the duck butt haircut?" Zabuza says while hopping off of the handle of his sword and pulling it out of the tree. Naruto starts laughing again, this time holding his stomach, along with Sakura. "Thanks, no brows. I've been trying to think of insults to say to the now-proclaimed duck butt," Naruto says, regaining his composure. Naruto, stop it and get serious. This man is responsible for the Hidden Mist's coup d'etat. Kakashi says with a serious tone. "I know exactly who he is, Kakashi-sensei, but it's so easy to piss him off. I thought shinobi were supposed to have control over their emotions while on a mission," Naruto says, which infuriates Zabuza even more. "That's a kid, you're dead," Zabuza says as he disappears. Naruto smirks and dodges the strike that should have surely taken his head clean off his shoulders, much to Sasuke's surprise. "Everyone protect Tazuna. Manger formation." Kakashi instructs, and the Genin appear around Tazuna with their kunai out in a reverse grip. "If you're my opponent, I guess I'll have to pull out all the stops." He lifts up his headband, revealing his spinning Sharingan. "What? How does he have a Sharingan? He isn't an Uchiha," Sasuke thinks. "Well, isn't this a treat? Copycat Kakashi's infamous Sharingan, right off the bat. I'm honored that you think I'm so dangerous, unlike that blonde brat over there. He really irks me. Let's cut the chit-chat and have some fun," Zabuza says with a demonic twinkle in his eye. "I couldn't agree more," Kakashi replies, and they both disappear in a blur. Kakashi and Zabuza clash. All that can be heard was the sound of metal. When they reappear, Kakashi's on land and Zabuza's on water, shocking Sasuke. "You're pretty good, Kakashi, but you're nothing without that Sharingan of yours," Zabuza says. Then he starts to build up so much chakra that you could practically see it swirling around him, mixed with the water. "Ninja art. Hidden Mist Jutsu," Zabuza says, and Naruto smirks as he deactivates his Rinnegan. "Another jutsu from my arsenal. That was too easy," Naruto thinks. The next thing they notice is a thick mist that starts to appear, and it's laced with so much killer intent and bloodlust that Sasuke starts shaking with fear. This bloodlust is insane. "If I stay here, I will end up dead for sure. I'd better just kill myself here and save myself the agony of slow and painful death," Sasuke thinks to himself, then points his kunai towards the center of his stomach and begins to make a plunging motion. Before he could actually cause any damage, he feels a strong grip on his arm. "Sasuke, don't be foolish. You're not going to die here. Not under the watch of Kakashi-sensei," Sakura says, trying to ease Sasuke's heart, and he lowers his kunai. Zabuza's voice rings out from all directions. I wouldn't be so sure about that, little girl. 8 points. Lungs, jugular, kidney, the dash. He's cut off by a voice that sounds irritated. Why don't you just shut up already? I've had just about enough of you. Wind style, great breakthrough. Naruto shouts, and a gust of wind disperses the mist and reveals Zabuza standing in the center of them. I really don't like people interrupting me, especially some little runt. Now you'll pay, he says as he starts swinging his sword. Kakashi is faster, though, and stabs his throat, thinking that he's dead when a liquid starts to flow out of his body. However, it's not blood, but water. Water clone. Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi think at the same time. Damn, I need to end this fast. That blonde brat and pink-haired bitch are stronger than they look. Zabuza thinks, while kicking Kakashi into the water, and begins to go through a quick series of hand seals. Water style, water prison jutsu. Zabuza says, trapping Kakashi in a sphere of water. Shit, I can't breathe in here. Kakashi looks at the genin and notices Naruto say something but can't quite make out what. The next thing he notices is Sasuke and Sakura firing 2 fireballs which meet in the center, exploding in size from Naruto's wind jutsu. Zabuza has no choice but to release the jutsu or get burnt to a crisp. Great job, you 3. I can take it from here. Kakashi praises them while smiling. He then turns his attention to Zabuza. What do you say we finish this? /N. The rest of the fight is the same as in canon. After a while of fighting, Zabuza hits a tree and coughs up blood. How did you know what jutsu I was going to do? Can you see the future? Zabuza asks as he wheezes out another cough. Yes, and your future ends here. Kakashi replies calmly, and is about to deliver the killing blow when a couple of Sunbon pierce through Zabuza's neck. A hunter Nin appears soon after. Thank you, Kakashi Hitaki of a Leaf. I've been chasing this man for a while now, and have never had the opportunity to kill him until now. The hunter Nin says, while Kakashi checks for a pulse on Zabuza's corpse, but finds that he's lacking one. Well, I must go and dispose of his body. It was a pleasure meeting you. With that, the hunter Nin disappears in a swirl of water. Well, I'm glad that's been taken care of. Tazuna says, I apologize again about lying about the mission parameters. Naruto decides to speak up now. It's not over. Zabuza is still alive. Naruto says, it's obvious that the hunter Nin is working with Zabuza. Otherwise, he would have cut his head off right here, regardless of witnesses. Isn't that right, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asks. You're right, loser. A hunter Nin working with a missing Nin? Get real. Sasuke interjects in a cold voice, before Kakashi even has the chance to speak. Actually, Sasuke, Naruto is right. Think back to what type of weapon was used to kill him. Kakashi says. Sakura speaks up almost immediately. He used 2 Sanbon needles, which are primarily used in acupuncture or various other medical uses. They can also be used to place anyone into a death-like state, feigning death while not truly being dead. Correct on all points, Kakashi says while turning to Tazuna. How much further is your house from here? He asks. Damn it, I'm an Uchiha. How are these losers smarter and stronger than me? I need more power if I'm going to defeat him and avenge my clan. Sasuke thinks to himself. It's just on the other side of town, about a couple miles walk from here. Tazuna replies. Well, let's get going. Kakashi says while covering his eye and taking a step. He then falls forward, but is caught by Naruto before hitting the ground. Tazuna gets a worried look on his face. Is he all right? What's wrong? He asks. He's fine. He just has severe chakra exhaustion from overusing his Sharingan. Sakura replies in a calm manner. We need to get out of the open as fast as we can, because if more Jonin show up, we'll die for sure. Naruto says with a serious tone. Right. Tazuna, can you lead the way to your house and away from the streets? Sakura asks. If there are shinobi dressed as civilians and they see 3 genin carrying their Jonin sensei, they'd most likely attack. She explains. Sure, follow me. Tazuna replies and leads Team 7 back to his home. As Team 7 reaches Tazuna's house, they notice a young-looking woman waiting outside. She notices an unconscious Kakashi being carried by Naruto. Oh my god, is he all right? She asks in a worried tone. Please bring him inside. I have a guest room that he can use. She turns around and leads them inside, showing them to a bed where they can lay down Kakashi. Tsunami, where is Inari? Tazuna asks. I would like to see my grandson after such a long journey. He said he was going to play in the water. If that's really where he is, I honestly don't know. But he should be back any minute now, wherever he happens to be. Tsunami replies. I'm sorry, I didn't mean over here, but is it wise to let a kid be out by himself, especially one related to the bridge builder that Gato is trying to cough? Excuse me, kill? What I'm trying to say is that using loved ones is the dirtiest trick in the book. However, it's also one of the most effective. Gato could kidnap him and use him as a bargaining chip to persuade you to stop building. Naruto explains. Tsunami pales in realization that the blonde leaf ninja was right. Inari could be kidnapped by Gato's thugs. She runs across the floor and out the door. Damn it, Sakura. Create a few shadow clones and set up a perimeter. I'm gonna go with her. Naruto says and follows Tsunami in search of Inari. Be safe, Naruto. Sakura thinks and proceeds doing as Naruto instructed. Shadow clone jutsu. Sakura says and produces 10 shadow clones. They surround the small home in a 30-meter diameter. Teach me that jutsu right now, Sakura. I must get stronger. I need power. So teach it to me. Sasuke growls at Sakura. Sakura shakes her head in disbelief at the way Sasuke talks to her. First of all, you probably don't have the chakra required to do the jutsu in the first place. It's an A-rank forbidden jutsu because of how much chakra it uses. It isn't like the clone jutsu, which is only an illusion. It's a real clone that can actually injure someone, use jutsus, or do anything that the original can do. It takes your chakra and splits it in half. Sakura explains. So, what we need to do first is build up your reserves. Do you know how to climb a tree? She asks. Of course I know how to climb a tree. We learned that in the academy. Sasuke retorts, and Sakura shakes her head in disappointment. Without using hands. Only your feet. Sakura explains. That's impossible. Nobody knows how to climb a tree without using their hands. Sasuke replies. Did you forget that Naruto and I both walked up a tree when we met Sensei for the bell test? Follow me. Sakura responds and proceeds outside. Sasuke follows her, curious as to what she is going to do. Watch me closely, Sakura instructs as she steps up to a tree. She makes the ram hand seal and starts to gather chakra in the soles of her feet. Afterwards, she begins to walk up the tree in a 90-degree angle, and Sasuke's jaw clenches once again. How are you doing that? Sasuke asks in anger, staring at the tree. Naruto appears from out of nowhere with Tsunami and Inari. She added chakra to the soles of her feet and just walked straight to the top. Naruto explains. It said that if you can master the tree climbing exercise, then you can do any jutsu. So, pick a tree, preferably a tall one, and get started. Use a kunai to track your progress. We'll come get you when Kakashi-sensei wakes up. You must be Inari. Nice to meet you, Sakura says with a smile as she gets down from the tree. Inari just give her a cold look. Whatever, Inari says in a harsh tone and heads inside, leaving Sakura in a state of shock. Tsunami decides to speak up. Well, shall we go and check on how your sensei is doing? Yeah, he should be waking up soon enough. Sakura replies, shaking away her thoughts at what had just happened. As they make their way to the door, Tazuna informs them that Kakashi's already awake and needs to speak with them. Sakura, go on ahead and tell Kakashi-sensei that we'll be right there. Naruto says, and Sakura nods her head, as Naruto proceeds with getting Sasuke. Sakura makes her way towards the room where Kakashi is resting. As she opens the door, she notices him reading that orange book of his. Don't you have anything better to read than that smut, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura fumes. No, Kakashi responds, without even looking up from his book. Where are Naruto and Sasuke? He asked her, turning the page. I was teaching Sasuke how to tree climb because he was practically begging me to teach him the shadow clone jutsu. I told him that he might not have the chakra reserves to do it and told him that when he gets his reserves up, I'll teach him. Sakura says as Naruto and Sasuke enter the room. Now that we're all here, it's time to talk about your guys' training regime. Kakashi begins. Sasuke, how are you doing on the tree climbing exercise? He asks. I just started and I haven't even made it halfway up yet. Sasuke explains, and Kakashi nods his head in understanding. Well, keep at it. This is a vital part of your training. You need to learn this. I had originally planned on teaching the three of you the tree climbing exercise anyway. So I want you to continue until Naruto or Sakura come and get you for lunch, all right? Sasuke nods his head in understanding and goes back to the tree. I'm going to assume that you already know the water walking exercise as well. Kakashi asks, now addressing Naruto and Sakura. Yes, Kakashi-sensei, we also know the kunai spinning exercise. Naruto says. Kakashi sighs and says, is there anything you don't know? Well, honestly, I think we should just tell you what we already know. Even though we've been living at the compound, there is still a lot we don't know yet. The jutsus that I know are Wind Style, Great Breakthrough, Lightning Style, Lightning Bind, Earth Style, Mud Wall, Earth Style, Great Mud River, Earth Style, Earth Flow River, Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu, and Jinjutsu. Naruto says. Oh, and I also know how to do Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu and Kunai Shadow Clone Jutsu. I also know the Shadow Clone Jutsu. I know the same jutsus, minus all of the earth and wind. Also, as you know, I could do Jinjutsu. Sakura says. Well, I guess I could teach you both the fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu, until we get Sasuke up to speed on the tree climbing exercise. Kakashi says, and as he tries to get up, he staggers a little bit. Are you sure you should be up and about, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asks worriedly. Yeah, I'll be fine. Just give me a couple days, and I'll be at 100%. Kakashi replies, standing successfully. All right, if you say so, sensei. Naruto says. They go outside a ways away from the house, as not to risk damaging it during training. Okay, now the hand seals for the Phoenix Flower Jutsu are rat, tiger, dog, ox, rabbit, and then tiger again. I want you to just practice the hand seals repeatedly until you can do them all within a second without messing up. Afterwards, I want you to mold chakra and try doing the jutsu. Do you understand? Kakashi orders. Yes, sensei. Naruto and Sakura say in unison. Immediately afterwards, they begin their training. Good. I will be back in a little bit to check on your progress. Now, I'm going to check on how Sasuke is doing with the tree climbing. Kakashi says, before heading towards the area where Sasuke was training. When he arrives there, he sees Sasuke flip backwards off of the tree. Hey Sasuke, how is the progress going? He asks. Phoenix. Sasuke grumbles, glaring at the marks in the tree. Kakashi sighs. How about instead of running up the tree, you try walking straight up it, starting at the base? He suggests. If you get the hang of this exercise, I'll teach you the same jutsu that Naruto and Sakura are working on currently. Kakashi says. This seems to pique Sasuke's interest because he questioned what they were working on. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Kakashi answers. Sasuke starts to concentrate on molding chakra on the bottom of his feet and then starts to walk up the tree rather than run. This time, he gets further but still falls down. Isn't that much easier than running up it? Kakashi asks. Sasuke only mumbles. Tsunami comes over to Kakashi. If you and your team are hungry, I made you all some lunch. She offers. Thank you. We could use a quiet lunch. Kakashi responds. Sasuke, why don't you go inside and grab something to eat so you can get some of your energy back? Sasuke nods his head and goes back to the house. Kakashi heads over to check on Naruto and Sakura and to inform them that lunch is ready. The first thing he sees when he gets there is Naruto and Sakura flying through the hand seals. All right, you two. That's enough for now. Why don't you go and get some lunch, and afterwards you can start trying to do the jutsu. Will do, sensei. Naruto says and heads back to Tezuna's home with Sakura following behind. When they enter the kitchen, they see Sasuke flying through the food like it would be his last meal. Slow down, Sasuke, or you're going to make yourself sick. Naruto says as he sits down and dishes himself some rice and beans with a side of vegetables. So Sasuke, how is your training going? Sakura asks as she gets her food as well. Sasuke takes a big gulp of food. It's going fine. I should be done in a couple of hours or so. Why do you care? He asks rudely. Because we are a team, and as such need to look out for each other. Sakura replies a little taken aback. Remember what Kakashi-sensei always says, those who break the rules of the ninja world are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. So I was just wondering how it was going and if you'd like some help. Sakura hesitates. Sorry I asked. She goes back to eating her food in silence. You know, Sasuke, she's right. They're just trying to help you. Otherwise, they could have chosen not to tell you how to tree climb. Kakashi points out. You were going to teach us that anyway. So what does it matter? Sasuke asks with a glare. True, I was, but they didn't know that. Maybe you should take a close look at your teammates. They're stronger than they look, and I have no doubt that when the time comes, they'll become Chunin. You, on the other hand, only have the skills of Genin. You're still missing some very important aspects of what a Chunin is. Kakashi explains, but is interrupted by Sasuke. Then tell me what they are, so I can become a Chunin already. Sasuke says impatiently. No, that's something that you must figure out on your own. Kakashi says. Whatever, I'm gonna go train some more. Sasuke spits out and leaves hastily. After a moment of silence, Naruto speaks up. Did you really mean that, Sensei? We could become Chunin. He asks. Kakashi nods his head. You two have what it takes. You look out for your comrades, even if they don't think they need or want you to. Kakashi says, and the two Genin could only help but smile. Thank you for the delicious meal, Tsunami, but we should also get back to our training. Sakura says, while bowing her head. She and Naruto then return to their training spot and start trying out the Phoenix Flower Jutsu. With Sasuke. As Sasuke starts going up the tree, he remembers what Kakashi said about Naruto and Sakura being stronger than they look. You're right, two clanless losers being stronger than I, an elite Uchiha? Get real. Sasuke mutters to himself as Kakashi shows up. You know, Sasuke, just because you're an Uchiha doesn't mean that everyone is weaker than you. You need to wake up and realize that, because when you finally do realize it, it might already be too late. Think back to the bell test. Who was able to get the bells? Sasuke was silent. Who fought on their own and couldn't even touch one? Kakashi waits a minute, letting his message sink in. Don't underestimate your teammates, or your opponents again. It might end up getting you killed one day. When he was done, Kakashi turns around and heads towards Naruto and Sakura to check on their progress. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Kakashi hears, as he nears the area Naruto and Sakura are training at. Suddenly, he sees a volley of fireballs flying towards him. He quickly goes through a series of hand seals, and a wall of earth appeared in front of him, stopping the onslaught. Sorry, Sensei, didn't see you there. I guess we mastered the jutsu, though. Sakura says, while laughing sheepishly. Kakashi just sweat drops at the remark. I guess you did, and faster than I thought you would. Kakashi replies. Let me guess, shadow clones? He asks. Yeah, they really shave off training time. Naruto answers. Well, you guys are free to do what you want until tomorrow, because that's when we start watching Tazuna at the bridge. Kakashi explains. Kakashi-sensei, you don't expect Zabuza back that soon, do you? Sakura asks. I thought he'd be out at least a week or so. No, but Gado's thugs could still attack. Kakashi replies. So you two will take the shift tomorrow, while Sasuke and I do more training. Then we'll take turns until the end of the week. Afterwards, we'll all go. Zabuza should be healed by then, and we'll probably have to deal with that fake Hunter Nin as well. We also don't know what skills he possesses. He explains. Sound good, Sensei. Naruto says. I think that we'll just go back to the house and rest, because that training took a lot out of us. Kakashi just nods his head in understanding. As they make their way back to the house, they notice Sasuke panting hard. They look at the tree and see that the marks go all the way to the top. He looks at them, and they smile in approval. He just smiles smugly, and they shake their heads in disappointment. They continue onwards to the house. When they get inside, Tazuna is at the table and notices how worn out they look. He asks them what they've been up to, and they just reply with training. They wander towards their respective rooms and are asleep almost before they even reach their beds. The next morning, Naruto and Sakura head downstairs. They look as if they're ready for war. They are dressed in complete ninja gear, with katanas strapped to their backs. Sasuke looks even more pissed, because he can't believe that they know how to use katanas as well. Where did you two get those swords? It probably doesn't mean anything. It's not like you could use them properly. Sasuke says with a scoff. You know, Sasuke, if you don't know how to use a weapon, then the smartest thing to do would be to not using in a fight. Using a weapon you don't know how to use is more dangerous than using one you do know how to use. Naruto says a little irritated. So Sakura and I do know how to use them. In fact, we've been training in the use of them since we were 8. So why don't you shut up and mind your own business? To answer your question, though, we sealed them in our wrists. He says, while he and Sakura show him their seals. Kakashi clears his throat as he enters the kitchen. If you three are done, I believe that Tizuna is ready for his escort to the bridge. Oh, by the way, you two should have told me you could use those. Is there anything else you can do that you forgot to tell me? Kakashi asks with a tone of curiosity. Okay, there's one more thing, but I thought you knew I could do this, so I didn't mention it. Naruto says, and creates a kunai made of crystal, handing it over to Kakashi. Kakashi examines it and whistles at the design. It has the texture of a diamond that's been made into a fine-pointed kunai. Sasuke is even more livid now. This must be some kind of trick. That clanless loser can't have a bloodline. Sasuke seethes. You know, Sasuke, all this talk of me being a clanless loser is really pissing me off, and I'm really itching to spill everything, but I'm not going to say a lot, just enough to get on your nerves. I do have a bloodline limit. I will show you what it is, but if you mention any of this when we get back home, you'll be put in prison for spilling an A-class secret known only to 4 others. 3 are in this room, not counting myself, but that's one secret you will hopefully never learn. Naruto says and activates his Rinnegan briefly, deactivating it a few seconds later. What the fuck is that? Sasuke asks with a tone that could scare the dead. That's my Kekkyagen Kai, called the Rinnegan, and it's superior to the Sharingan. Naruto says in a tone that could be seen as gloating. I'm not going to tell you everything it allows me to do, but as you can see, I just created a kunai out of nothing. Oh, and remember that if you speak, you'll do prison time. It doesn't matter if you're the council's precious Uchiha or not. No one is above the Leaf's laws. Naruto says in a tone that makes Sasuke know he's serious in the matter. Sakura, deciding to break the tension, speaks up. Well, Tizuna, shall we get going? Tizuna just nods his head and heads out the door with Naruto and Sakura in tow. If you don't mind my asking, what is the deal between you 3? Tizuna asks with a tone of curiosity. Naruto sighs. Back when we were still academy students, Sasuke thought that he was all that because he was the top student. When graduation came, he was given the title Rookie of the Year. That pissed me off even more because if certain things didn't happen, I wouldn't have had to act so stupid and could have shown them what I could do. So I had to settle for being the dead last and worst student, otherwise the villagers would want my head even more than they already do. Before you ask, it's a SS class secret, so I can't divulge that information. So, let me get this straight. What you're saying is that you are stronger than him. Tizuna questions. Naruto nods his head. Not just me, but Sakura too. We're probably mid to high Chunin level right now, but low Jonin in some areas. Our chakra levels are through the roof though, due to chakra control exercises. Tizuna just whistles, and they continue their journey in silence. Half an hour later, they get to the bridge, and Tizuna starts to give orders while Naruto and Sakura create 5 clones, having them create a perimeter of about 10 yards out from the bridge. The original Naruto and Sakura patrol the entrances and waterways, in case someone used a route that wasn't being watched by the clones. As the day went on, it remained peaceful, but after lunch, a group of 10 to 15 people showed up, and thanks to the clones, Naruto and Sakura were prepared to deal with them. Luckily, they were just hired thugs and not ninja as well. The battle was quick and brutal. Naruto and Sakura slaughtered them like pigs and threw their corpses over the side of the bridge into the frigid water below. When the day started to come to a close, Tizuna said that he needed to pick up a few things for dinner, so the trio made their way into town. They noticed what the town has been like ever since Gato took over. Children were scavenging for food out of trash bins, and shops closing up because they were either not getting any business or they had run out of merchandise. This is why I need the bridge completed. With the way things are now, children are freezing and starving to death. Tizuna says. Sakura felt someone grab her ass and was about to pound them into the ground. Only softened her features when she saw it was a little girl holding her hand out, waiting for food. Sakura looks to Naruto, who just nods his head and pulls out a scroll. When he opens it, he starts to channel chakra into it, and instant ramen pops out. He hands it over to the girl, who thanks him. Naruto just nods his head with a smile. Do you know where Gato is, Tazuna? Naruto asks, and a shocked expression spreads across Sakura's face as she realizes what Naruto is implying. Tazuna shakes his head. None of us know where he is. Even if we did, nobody would confront him. They're all too scared. Tazuna replies, damn it, it would be so much easier to end this if we could just chop the head off the snake. Naruto says, Naruto, you aren't thinking of confronting Gato, are you? Do you know how crazy that is? Sakura asks in a worried tone. Yeah, that's Naruto for you. Always doing something reckless. Inner Sakura shouts. Yeah, but that's what we love about him, though. Always doing something like that for people who are suffering. Sakura replies inwardly. It doesn't matter, Sakura. Gato is doing this to the people of the village, and he doesn't even care. Crazy or not, someone needs to stand up to him and put an end to this tyranny. Naruto argues. Let's just continue getting what we need. The longer we stay here, the more I feel like crying. Sakura says, and the others nod their heads in agreement. When they finish their shopping and make their way back to Tazuna's home, Sakura asks where Kakashi was and found out that he was training Sasuke in the forest. She goes to look for him. When she finds him, he was watching Sasuke try and do the Phoenix Flower Jutsu while reading that book of his. Hello, Sakura. How are things at the bridge? Kakashi asks, before Sakura could even open her mouth to speak. Everything was fine, even though a group of Gato's thugs showed up. We took care of them. Sakura replies, while Kakashi just nods his head. Sensei, I'm worried about Naruto. When we were in town, we saw children going through garbage just to find food. It hit Naruto hard, and he started asking where Gato's hiding. He said something about chopping the head off the snake would make it easier to end this now. I'm worried that Naruto will do something stupid and go on the war path, hunting down Gato until he has his head. Sakura explains. Kakashi takes in what she says. Do you know why Naruto acted like that, Sakura? He asks, and Sakura shakes her head no. It's because he too had to find food in the garbage, or sometimes not eat at all. So seeing other children going through what he did hit him close to home. You're right though, Naruto might try and find Gato. We need to keep a close eye on him. Right, Sensei? Sakura replies and walks away. Wow, I didn't know Naruto's life was that hard before he found out who his parents were. Sakura thinks to herself. He probably didn't say anything because he didn't want us to worry. You know how he is about people worrying about him. Inner Sakura replied. Yeah, you're right, but we still need to watch him so he doesn't do anything stupid. Sakura says, ending the conversation between them and making her way to the house. When she enters, she asks where Naruto is and finds that he went to bed early. Sakura goes and checks on him, but when she opens his door, he's not there. Sakura creates a shadow clone and has it go tell Kakashi that Naruto is missing. The original heads out to the place where they learned the Phoenix Flower Jutsu to see if he's there, but no such luck. Damn it, Naruto, where the hell are you? She asks worriedly and decides that more clones could locate him faster. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Spread out and look for Naruto. Don't leave any rock unturned. Sakura orders and the clones spread out. Time skip. After searching for a few hours, the clone with Kakashi dispersed itself, and Sakura got the information, finding out that he's with Naruto. She heads back to the house and waits for him to get back, so she can pound his head into the ground for making them worry. When she gets there, she notices Naruto and Kakashi waiting, and Naruto looks all beat up. She forgets that she was going to pound some sense into him. Naruto, what happened to you? Sakura asks with a scared tone, making Naruto feel even more sad that he'd made them worry. I was out training after my search for Gato failed. Naruto says, with his head down. I was going to stop Zabuza and the Hunter Nin from attacking again by killing their employer. I'm sorry for making you guys worry about me, but I just didn't want to risk one of us not coming back from this mission. Naruto says, never raising his head. Naruto, as noble as your intentions were, what you did was still reckless, and you put the mission in danger. Kakashi says with a voice that Naruto knew meant he was in trouble. Whatever my punishment is, when we get back to the village, I will accept even if it means turning in my headband. I know what I did was wrong, and you're right. I did endanger the mission by going after Gato. Naruto says. Sakura was shocked that Naruto might not be a ninja anymore, and he's willing to accept it without a fight. I will be inside awaiting further orders, Sensei. Naruto says, and heads inside. Sensei, Naruto can't be serious, can he? He won't lose his ninja license, will he? It's all he knows, all he ever wanted to be. Sakura explains. I'm afraid he is, Sakura, but I also think he's wondering how his parents would react if they were still around. Would they be ashamed of him? I believe that is one question he is asking himself, among others. Minato Sensei, if he was still around, would be ashamed in him because it's practically the same thing that I did when I didn't want to save Rin and continue on with the mission. Kakashi replies, I'm just surprised that he would willingly give up his headband without a fight. Sakura says, I guess it's up to the Hokage, isn't it, as to what Naruto's punishment is. Sakura says, well, I guess we should go in. It's getting late, and we have a long week ahead of us still. Kakashi says. Sakura nods her head, and they make their way inside for some well-deserved rest. The rest of the week went by smoothly. Sasuke awoke the Sharingan during a training exercise, and Sakura learned a new jutsu from Naruto. Sakura was still worried about Naruto and what will happen to him when they return to the Leaf. Right now, it's the final night before the bridge will be completed. Naruto left Tizuna's after telling Inari off about how he at least has a mother and grandfather who care about him. How Kaiza would be ashamed of him for acting like a coward since all he does is cry saying heroes don't exist because Kaiza was a hero. After Naruto left, Sakura went after him in case he did something stupid. When she finally found him, he was practicing his katas with his katana, so she just watched and waited until he was finished. As Naruto was going through the motions, he noticed that Sakura was watching him, and he stopped after doing sideswipe, much to Sakura's surprise, and Naruto decides to speak up. I'm fine, Sakura. You don't have to worry about me, he says, looking into her emerald eyes. Yes, I do, Naruto. Sakura says, I know what Inari said hurt you, because your parents are heroes and everyone who died that horrible night. Sakura says on the verge of tears, which Naruto notices, and he sheaths his katana and walks over to her. Sakura, don't cry. I hate seeing people I care about cry, so please don't. Naruto says, hugging her, and she hugs him back. Naruto, let's head back to the house, and if you say no, I will start to cry again, only harder. Sakura says with a laugh. All right, then let's head back. Besides, tomorrow is going to be a long day, so we do need to get some sleep tonight. Naruto says, and Sakura pouts as they make their way back to Tizuna's house. When they get there, everyone has already gone up to bed, so they quietly sneak into their rooms and go to sleep. Time skip. The next morning, everyone is sitting at the table, not saying much of anything considering that someone might not return. I guess it's time, isn't it? Tizuna asks as Kakashi stands up, and Kakashi nods his head. Everyone gets all their gear that they will need and head out. Once outside, Naruto puts his finger in a cross shape. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto shouts, make a perimeter around the house and kill anyone who is a threat. Naruto orders, and the clones fan out, and they start the journey to the bridge. What was that about, loser? Sasuke asks with a sneer. Naruto scoffs at Sasuke's attitude. That was for Tsunami's and Inari's protection while we are away, in case Gato tries to take advantage that we aren't here to protect them. Naruto says in as-a-matter-of-fact voice. Thank you for doing that. I didn't think about their protection while we would be at the bridge. Tizuna says while shaking his head in shame that he never thought about his family's protection. It's no problem, that's our job. You just concentrate on finishing the bridge. Naruto replies, and they arrive at the bridge a half an hour later. There's a thin mist covering the area. They notice that there are bodies on the ground covered in senbon, but are still alive. Naruto creates a few clones to move the bodies out of the way. He then uses the Great Breakthrough to disperse the mist, and two figures can be seen at the other end of the bridge. Sakura, did you activate the gravity seals when you woke up? Naruto asks in a hushed tone. No. Sakura whispers back, why? She asks. Because you're going to need to move at top speed with nothing holding you back. Naruto replies and turns to Kakashi. Sensei, two thugs tried to kidnap Tsunami and Inari, but they didn't get the chance. Inari, they want to go get help for us, so we need to end this fast so that the villagers don't get injured or worse. Right. Naruto, you're with me. Sasuke, you and Sakura take on the fake Hunter Nin. Be careful, we don't know anything about him, and if possible, bring him alive for information. Kakashi says, and Naruto activates his Rinnegan and Sasuke activates his Sharingan. Well, are you done flapping your jaws and ready to fight? I'm getting bored. Zabuza yells. Haku, take the one with the duck butt haircut. Haku nods his head and moves towards Sasuke. Sakura and Sasuke both move at blinding speeds and appear in front of Haku. Sakura throws a punch, but Haku blocks it and parries it. He aims a kick at Sasuke's head, while Sakura aims a kick for Haku's midsection. Haku has no choice but to jump back to avoid taking the damage. You two are formidable opponents, but I must end this quickly and help Zabuza. Haku says, sorry, not gonna happen. Sasuke, how about the jutsu sensei taught us? Sakura says, smirking. Right, let's do it. Sasuke says, and they start to go through a series of hand seals. When they reach the last one, they shout out, Fire Style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. They fire off a volley of mini fireballs, and Haku has a little trouble dodging them all, but is successful in the end. With Zabuza, Kakashi, and Naruto. While those two genin do know some tricks after all, Zabuza says, laughing. Thanks for the compliment, but I only taught Sakura one thing. Everything else she learned from Naruto here. Kakashi says, and Naruto waves at Zabuza with a smile on his face. Yeah, but she's also holding back so that the bridge doesn't get destroyed during the fight. Naruto says, shocking both Jonin and Tazuna. I will give you this one. Chance Zabuza, stand down, you don't stand chance. I may only be Chunin level, but you can't beat both the Rinnegan and Sharingan. Naruto says, and Zabuza's eyes widen in shock or fear he can't tell. I do hate killing needlessly, so I hope you make the right choice because all I need is 2 jutsu and 1 hand to end this fight. Kid, even if you do have the Rinnegan, you are still a genin, while I am an experienced jonin, and Zabuza says, but stops when he notices that Naruto and Kakashi seem to be talking about that orange book. Kakashi is holding his hand above his head while pushing Naruto away from him. Hey, I'm talking to you ingrates. Zabuza yells. Did you say something, Zabuza? Naruto asks. I was trying to get Sensei to stop reading that perverted book. I'm gonna kill you first, you idiotic blonde brat. Zabuza at him. Then I'm gonna kill your 2 teammates and your perverted Sensei last. Naruto glares at Zabuza, the Rinnegan, piercing right through him. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. No brows. Kakashi Sensei, stay back, this bastard's mine. Screw trying to save him from death. Naruto says, let me tell you this, Zabuza. Anyone who threatens my friends or the people I care about never see the next day. Naruto says, and Zabuza laughs, and Naruto laughs in a mocking tone with him, but stops. You don't believe me? Just ask Kakashi Sensei. One time while he was still in Umbu, he was supposed to protect me from my own village, so they didn't kill me. Well, one day Sakura and I were going through the streets, we were attacked, and they threatened to do stuff to a 4-year-old girl. Next thing any of them knew was that they were all dead in a matter of seconds. Naruto says, and the funny thing is some of the people I killed were jonin. So if you weren't scared before, how about now? Naruto asks, and Zabuza regains his composure after shaking away the fear of a 4-year-old killing multiple jonin. Nice bluff, kid, almost had me there. Zabuza says, laughing, but stops when he sees Kakashi shaking his head. He's not bluffing, Zabuza. I thought the memory was actually suppressed. I guess I was wrong. Kakashi says, looking at Naruto, who never stops staring at Zabuza. When I found him, it looked like he took a bath in a river of blood. Kakashi says, and Zabuza turns white with fear. Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu. Naruto shouts, catching Zabuza off guard, but feeling the heat from the flame got Zabuza's attention, and he was able to move just in time. He saw Naruto throw a bunch of color kunai and was able to dodge them as well. But what he didn't see was metal kunai thrown as well, and they embedded themselves into Zabuza's arms and legs. Ah! You son of a bitch, you're dead. Zabuza screams in pain. With Sakura and Sasuke's fight. They hear someone scream and realize it was Zabuza. I must end this now. Zabuza needs my help, Haku says, and starts to go through a series of hand seals. Ice Style, Demon Ice Mirrors. Haku says calmly as a dome of mirrors appear and encase them, but not before Kunai, with an explosive tag, explodes, hitting one of the mirrors but doesn't destroy it. Where did that come from? Haku thinks and looks around and notices the blonde leaf ninja. Naruto, why the hell aren't you helping Kakashi-sensei? Sakura yells. Kakashi-sensei is protecting Tazuna. I'm a clone. Boss sent me here to help you out after sensing the large amount of chakra being used. The clone replies. What do you mean sensei is protecting Tazuna? That loser couldn't have hurt Zabuza. It's impossible. Sasuke growls. Yes, Zabuza will be dead any minute now since his legs are now useless. The clone says. So I will give you the same choice that boss gave Zabuza. Stand down and live or continue and die. I must protect Zabuza, for I am his tool to be used as he commands. Haku states with sadness evident in his voice. My dream is to see his dream come to fruition, and if I have to die for that to happen, I will gladly do it. You are not a tool, you are a person. Don't you have dreams that don't revolve around running for your life? You can have it. All you have to do is stop fighting or you will die. Stop and I will spare Zabuza. Naruto says and looks beyond Haku and sees a ways out people are coming. We have company, a short fat man with a small army behind him. That's Gato. Haku exclaims in horror. I must go warn Zabuza. Haku then deactivates the jutsu and disappears into one of the mirrors, and the clone destroys itself to let the original know as well. Back with Naruto's and Kakashi's fight. Naruto looks at Kakashi with fear in his eyes. Kakashi-sensei, according to the clone, I sent to help Sasuke and Sakura. Gato's coming, and he has a small army with him. Naruto says as Haku, Sasuke and Sakura appear. Well, Kakashi, it seems that we no longer have a quarrel with each other, considering that I'm about to be fired. Zabuza says, laying against the railing of the bridge bleeding. It appears so, Kakashi says. That's impossible, it had to be Kakashi. There is no way in hell that the dead last was able to do this to a Jonin. Sasuke thinks to himself when he notices Zabuza. Zabuza, come to the leaf with us. Give Haku a chance at a real home instead of running for your lives all the time. He looks up to you as a son looks to his father. I can see in your eyes you feel the same way towards Haku. Naruto says, looking into Zabuza's eyes, and they seem to soften. I will give you time to think about what I said. You have until you are 100%. Zabuza nods his head, and Sakura heals Zabuza's wounds, but he is still sore. Well, looks like the so-called demon of the hidden mist was beat by a bunch of pathetic brats from a leaf. Gato says, smiling. I guess this means your contract is terminated since you failed to kill the bridge builder, and so are you. Get him, boys. Gato yells, and his thugs start to charge at the shinobi, but they were blown backwards by a strong gust of wind. Man, that guy talks too much, Naruto says, and gets a few laughs from everyone. What do you say, Sensei? Sakura, the water dragon jutsu sound good? Naruto asks. Kakashi nods his head, as does Sakura. Sounds good to me, let's show this midget why he shouldn't mess with Leaf Ninja. Sakura says, and the three go through the long series of hand seals in a few seconds. Water style, water dragon jutsu. They shout, and three giant dragons shoot out from the water and crush Gato and his men, killing them all. Naruto deactivates his Rinnegan and turns back towards land and sees Inari at the lead of what looks like the entire village cheering. Time skip. After the bridge is completed, the Leaf Ninja and the Mist Ninja are saying goodbye to the Wave villagers. Naruto notices Inari shaking, so he goes up to him. What's wrong, Inari? Why are you shaking? He asks. I don't want to cry. I want to be brave like you. Inari says, his voice cracking. You know that it's alright to cry sometimes? Naruto asks, placing a hand on Inari's shoulder, who looks up at Naruto. I may be a ninja, but sometimes we get scared too. The only thing is we don't have the luxury of letting it show. So go ahead and cry. He tells Inari, and Inari lets loose the tears he was holding back and hugs Naruto. Don't leave us, Naruto. Inari cries into Naruto's shoulder. I have to leave, Inari. I have friends waiting for me. But you know what? Take this, and I will always be here. Naruto says, handing a crystal kunai to Inari. Thank you, Naruto, for everything. Inari says, hugging Naruto again. Naruto hugs Inari back. You're welcome, Inari, he says, and starts walking to everyone else who is ready to depart and looks at Zabuza. Time's up, Zabuza, Naruto says with a hard voice and activates his Rinnegan. What's your answer? I have done a lot of thinking about what you said, and I have decided that living this life is not really living. So my answer is, I would like to join the Leaf Village and extend mine and Haku's lives by not running from hunter needs. Zabuza says. Naruto deactivates the Rinnegan. Well, since that's taken care of, I hear the Leaf calling us home. He says with cheerful voice, and they make their way back home or on their way to their new home. Grandpa, what are you going to name the bridge? Inari asks, wiping the tears from his eyes. How about the Great Naruto Bridge? Tazuna asks, and everyone shouts in agreement. Very well, then from this moment on, this bridge will be known as the Great Naruto Bridge, Tazuna says, and they continue watching the shinobi who saved their village walking away. At the main gates of the Hidden Leaf Village, two Chunin are on guard. One has bandages across the bridge of his nose and wild hair. The other one has a bandana with the leaf insignia on his head. Oh my god, I wish something interesting would happen. Guard duty is just so boring. The one with the bandana, On says with a yawn. I know what you mean, Izumo. Why are we always stuck on guard duty anyway? The bandaged one replies while reading a random piece of paper on the ledge in front of them. Izumo just shakes his head. I have no idea, Kotetsu. Bad luck, I guess. He says and looks out the gates and down the road. Looks like we have some people on their way here. Kotetsu takes a look. Isn't that Zabuza being led here by Kakashi Hitaki and his Genin squad? He asks. I believe you're right. Izumo replies, rubbing his eyes just to make sure. I guess I got my wish after all. He laughs. Hey guys, we are returning from Wave. Kakashi says, showing his ID while the Genin show theirs. Zabuza and Haku here wish to join our village, so we are heading to the Hokage's office to file our report. Kakashi says to the two stunned Chunin, and they head towards the Hokage's office. Many times skip the Hokage's office. Once Team 7 arrives, they are granted entrance and explain what happened in Wave. After they were done, the Hokage has a hard look on his face. Naruto, you understand what you did was wrong, don't you? He asks. Naruto nods his head. Yes, Lord Hokage, I understand completely. Though my intentions were good, I put the mission in jeopardy. That is part of the reason why I convinced Zabuza and Haku to join our village. If you lose a promising Genin, you gain an experienced Jonin and a high-level Chunin. Naruto says, and taking off his headband. If my punishment is I can no longer be a ninja. He puts the headband on the desk. I will accept without argument. Naruto says with his held high. The Hokage takes a long, hard look at Naruto before talking. Naruto, there's only one thing left to say to you. You went in search of Gato to stop Zabuza and Haku from attacking. So, you put that headband back on. Sarutobi says, shocking all occupants in the room. Lord Hokage, I don't understand. I left the client's house, and that caused Kakashi-sensei and Sakura to search for me, putting the client in danger. Naruto says, bewildered at what he just heard. Let me explain, Naruto. Hiruzen says, Gato was paying shinobi to try and kill the client. So killing Gato would forfeit any agreement between the payer and payee. Sarutobi explains. Thank you, Lord Hokage. I promise that this transgression will not happen again. Naruto says, putting his headband on. I know it won't, Naruto. The Hokage says with a smile. Now on to another important matter that we need to discuss. Zabuza, since you are a missing nin from Mist, you have severed all ties with the village itself. So having you join our village will be easy enough. Sarutobi says, and pulls out two scrolls, and then pulls out two leaf headbands. The scrolls have Jonin and Chunin outfits, and the headbands are self-explanatory. Now to be a Jonin in this village, you need to master at least two affinities. Haku, when the Jonin exams are up, that won't be a problem for you since your bloodline limit gives you two already. But Zabuza, do you have another affinity? The Hokage asks, pulling out another piece of paper. Yes, Lord Hokage, I do. My other affinity is Earth. Zabuza says, shocking Kakashi's Genin squad and Haku. I haven't really needed to use it, so I never in our fights. He says, answering the questions that the five of them got in their heads. And how many Earth-style jutsu do you know? Hiruzen asks, writing down the information he received. 7, Lord Hokage. Zabuza says, and Sarutobi writes that down as well. Lord Hokage, I thank you for this opportunity, and I will not betray that trust you put in us. I only have one question. He says. You may ask. Hiruzen says. Do you have any suggestions as to where Haku and I could stay since we have nowhere to go right now? Zabuza asks. That's simple, you can stay at mine and Sakura's place. Naruto says, and then slaps his head at what he just said. What do you mean, loser? Sasuke asks. Sakura lives with her parents, and you live in a shithole of an apartment. Sasuke says, glaring at Naruto. First of all, Sasuke, Sakura's parents disowned her for being friends with me. Second, I don't live there anymore. Naruto says, glaring right back at Sasuke. Sasuke, you're dismissed, the rest stay, including you, Kakashi. Sarutobi says, taking a long tokay of his pipe. TCH, whatever, I got training to do anyway. Sasuke says, leaving, and when the door shuts, Sarutobi activates privacy seals. Are you out of your mind? 3 people yell at Naruto. No, I'm not out of my mind. Naruto states calmly. You see, if I'm not mistaken, the Chunin selection exams are going to start in a couple of months. So I was thinking that if Zabuza stayed with Sakura, and he could train us in more water-style jutsu, and I could learn ice-style from Haku. Also, our place is perfect since there's a fairly nice-sized lake and extensive training ground. Naruto says. Lord Hokage Naruto does make a point. Right now, Naruto knows 2 fire-style jutsu, 1 wind-style jutsu, and 1 water-style, and a few earth-style jutsu. I know 2 fire-style and 1 water-style. The Namikaze Estate training ground is quite large. Sakura says. Very well, you two do make an excellent case. Sarutobi says, and looks at Zabuza and Haku. You will be staying at the Namikaze Estate until you are able to find your own place. Namikaze. Where have I heard that name before? Zabuza asks aloud. Why don't you take a look at the 4th face on a mountain? Naruto says, and Zabuza complies. Zabuza takes a long, hard look at the face, and he realizes who that is. The 4th Hokage, the yellow flash. He says and looks at Naruto, and his mouth drops to the floor. You got it. I'm the son of the 4th Hokage. Naruto says. That information cannot get out. If it does, it will cause a major uproar within village and may cause a civil war to break out. Telling anyone will result in imprisonment or death. I understand, and we will not betray that trust. You have my word. Haku says, glaring at Zabuza, who nods his head in agreement. Okay, since this matter is taken care of, Kakashi, what are your plans for taking on missions? Sarutobi asks. I plan on taking D ranks and the occasional C rank so that they can train for the Chunin exams. Kakashi says after feeling a little left out. Team training during the week and individual during the weekends. Sarutobi nods his head. Very well, then I will be expecting great progress from your team, Kakashi. Don't worry, Lord Hokage. Naruto and Sakura should definitely make Chunin unless the council is biased, and in my opinion, they will be. Kakashi says, and Naruto and Sakura hang their heads at the fact that they might not make Chunin because of what Naruto holds and the fact that Sakura is friends with him. Sasuke has a long way to go, especially with that superiority complex of his. I honestly don't think he is Chunin material. Kakashi says. I can't help but agree with you, Kakashi. Sarutobi replies and looks at Naruto and Sakura. Naruto, Sakura, look at me. He says, and they comply. If you two prove yourselves worthy, I will personally make you Chunin, because like Kakashi said, you two already have what it takes to be Chunin, and not just in the strength category, but leadership as well. Sarutobi says as Naruto and Sakura smile. Now if that is all, you are dismissed. Zabuza, tomorrow the people of this village will know of your status as Leaf Shinobi, and will not try to harm you or Haku in any way. Zabuza nods his head in understanding. Zabuza, place your hand on my shoulder, and Haku on Sakura's. Naruto says, and gets a questionable look from the two. This is so we can avoid any confrontation as we walk through the streets. Naruto explains, and they comply. Then Naruto and Sakura disappear in a swirl of leaves with their house guests. I hope you know what you're doing, Naruto, Sarutobi states, and goes back to the bane of all Kages. Paperwork. At the Namikaze estate. When Naruto and Sakura appear in the training ground, Zabuza and Haku are more than impressed with the size. Kid, when you said it was nice, sized, you weren't kidding. Zabuza says, looking around and noticing nice-sized trees and a monumental lake. Yeah, it is nice, isn't it? Naruto says. This used to be my mother's garden, but the flowers were dead since there was no one around to take care of them, so we tore them out. Naruto says, sometimes I can't help but wonder what my life would have been like if the attack 13 years ago never happened. He rubs his eyes clear of tears, and Sakura places a hand on his shoulder, and he looks at her and nods his head. Well, I suppose I will show you to your rooms. Follow me, please. Naruto calls to Zabuza and Haku and leads them to the door separating the kitchen from the training ground. Well, this is the kitchen. Feel free to eat whatever you like. Through there is the living room up the stairs or the bedrooms and a bathroom. The 2 rooms at the far end of the hall are yours. If you'd like to rest now, that's fine. We can begin training later if you like. Naruto says, ending the small tour. Thank you. I think we will rest for a bit. It has been a while since we slept in a peaceful home. Zabuza answers. Naruto nods his head. As you desire. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. We will be in the training ground doing our normal exercises. Naruto says and leaves them in peace and head back to the training ground with Sakura following him. In the training ground. How do you think he will react when he sees us? One of the intruders asked. I don't know, but this need to be resolved quickly and quietly. The other says, and the door opens. Who the hell are you and what do you want? Naruto asks angrily. How the hell did you even get in here? He asks, now pissed at the intruders. Naruto, don't you recognize us? One of them asks with tears in their eyes. Sakura then comes outside and stops in her tracks when she notices the intruders. Naruto, that's the 4th Hokage. Naruto, I think that these are your parents. Sakura says, shocked. Naruto, I think that they're your parents. Sakura says, and Naruto rounds on her. My parents are dead, Sakura. I visit their graves when I can. You know this. Naruto says, pissed at the sick joke. The Hokage even told me they died during the attack 13 years ago. Naruto, we didn't die. We faked our deaths to protect you. The one who looks like Kushina says. We heard about what happened in Wave and knew we had to come home. Our baby needs us. If you really are Naruto's parents, prove it. Sakura says, drawing a kunai. Okay. The one who looks like Minato says. Sakura, talk to your parents, and they will tell you that we are your godparents. I can also do this. The Minato look-alike says, drawing a tri-pronged kunai and throwing a few feet away and flash towards it, proving that they are indeed Minato and Kushina Namikaze. Do you believe us now? That we really are who we say we are? That we are your parents? Naruto? He asks. Mom, Dita. Naruto cries and runs up to them and hugs them. Where have you been? Our lives have been horrible. Naruto says, shocking his parents when he says, our, and asks what he means. Sakura's parents disowned her just because she was friends with me. We spent time in the hospital, and one day I awoke an Uzumaki bloodline called the Rinnegan. Naruto replies. His parents look at each other in amazement and horror at the same time. Amazement because their little boy has a very powerful bloodline. Horror because the one who activates it has to see someone close to them die or see some other traumatic event. Naruto, how did you awaken this, and at what age? Minato asks, a little afraid of what the answer will be. I got it at age 6, when Sakura and I were walking through the village one evening. There was a mob, and we tried to run, but we couldn't get away. They caught up to us and started to beat on us. When one of them grabbed a kunai and stabbed Sakura in the side. Naruto says, his eyes tearing up, talking about this horrific memory. That's when I awoke it, and the Umbu and the Hokage appeared and took us to the hospital to save Sakura's life. That's where I found out that I activated a bloodline and who my parents are. This is very discomforting and interesting at the same time. I haven't heard of anyone having the Rinnegan since Jiraiya Sensei's old student from the Second Great Ninja War. Discomforting because my son and goddaughter were treated so harshly when I wanted my son treated as the hero he is and not Kurama himself. Minato says, fuming. Speaking of Jiraiya Sensei, where is he? We don't know. I've been on my own since they kicked me out of the orphanage at 4 for a reason that I don't want to talk about since Sakura doesn't remember it, but I at least made a friend who later became my girlfriend. Naruto says, causing both him and Sakura to blush. Minato laughs at that. Your mother and I joked that if Minato and I had a son, then you two would make a cute couple. Kushina says to Sakura, make her blush a deeper shade of red along with Naruto. To answer your question about where we were, Naruto, we were finding old enemies and eliminating them. but we didn't know it would take so long. She then turns to Minato. I think that it's time that we speak with the Hokage, she says. Minato nods his head in agreement. I agree. He says, I wonder if Sarutobi figured out the key to beating paperwork yet. Minato says with a chuckle. If you do go see the old man, you might want to use a transformation. Naruto says, there is no need for that, Naruto. You see, I placed a Hiratian seal in the office for easy access. Minato explains when he gets a quizzical look from Naruto. You coming, Naruto? He asks. I would, but I really don't want to see the old man quake in fear because of Mom's temper that I read about in your journals. Naruto says with a smile. Plus, we have guests here who are going to train Sakura and I in water style and ice style jutsu. Oh, really? Who? Kushina asks, and Naruto tells them. What? Kushina screams. You let that man into our home. What were you thinking? She asks. Mom, it's not what you think. He made the choice for his son figure, living in a home life instead of running for their lives every day. Naruto says, trying to calm her down. I understand wanting a better life for a child, but that doesn't mean I have to like though. Kushina says while still fuming. I think we should go speak to Sarutobi now, don't you? Minato says, and Kushina agree, so she grabs Minato's ear and pulls down, making him wince in pain. They then disappear in a mix of flash of yellow and red. Why, your mom has got quite the temper, Sakura says. I guess that explains the restoration seals then. Now, what is it that I don't remember? She asks. Yet Dad journals didn't do her temper justice. Naruto replies, shivering at the thought of what she could do when really pissed. Well, Sakura, should we get started on training now? Naruto asks. Yeah, we should, but don't try to change the subject, Sakura says. Naruto sighs. Sakura, I would rather that you don't remember it. It was when we forced, so it doesn't matter. That's why your subconscious blocked it out, so that you don't remember it. Can we please just drop it? I don't like thinking about it, all right. Okay, Naruto, let's get started on training, Sakura says, dropping the matter. Shadow Clone Jutsu. They both call out, and 500 clones each are created and split off to go train in the area they were ordered to train in. The real Naruto and Sakura activate their gravity seals and start training their muscles and speed. In the Hokage's office. Me? Minato, Kushina, how the hell are you two still alive? Sarutobi asks when there's a flash. We buried your bodies. Nice to see you to Sarutobi. Minato says, perplexed that the first words to come out of their old friend's mouth is, how are you still alive? I'm glad to see you, but Naruto, Sarutobi tries to say, but is stopped. We already explained everything to Naruto. In fact, that is where we came from, and we had a very interesting conversation. Not only did he awaken his bloodline in this goddamn village, but was thrown out of the orphanage that he should never have been in the first place at age 4. For a reason he wouldn't explain to us because Sakura doesn't remember it. Kushina says, pissed off. Kushina, I couldn't do anything to counsel. Sarutobi tries to speak, but Kushina shuts him up with a huge amount of killer intent. Screw the fucking council. Kushina yells, shocking both men at the profanity used. You are the Hokage, not those old geezers. Show some backbone for God's sake. Kushina, I had a hard time keeping Naruto out of prison at age 4, so calm down. Sarutobi says, standing up. We know that something happened when he was 4, but he wouldn't say what since Sakura doesn't remember. Minato says, all he told us was that because of that incident he was thrown out of the orphanage. What happened, Sarutobi? Kushina asks. Why was our son thrown out of the orphanage, and why was he even in an orphanage in the first place? Naruto was in an orphanage because no one wanted to take care of the demon child except a few, but the council forbade it from happening. Sarutobi says, as to why he was thrown out of the orphanage, you may want to sit down for this. Sarutobi takes a deep breath before beginning. It happened one evening when Naruto and Sakura were walking and having a good time. That is until the mob formed and starting chasing them and throwing kunai and anything else they could get their hands on. The Hokage pauses and then continues. After a while, they caught up to them and started to beat on them. And one of the villagers said something and Naruto snapped, and then they were all dead shortly after. Kushina gasps at this, and Sarutobi continues. The villagers were demanding for Naruto's death or imprisonment. If it wasn't for a couple of trustworthy Umbu, they might have killed him. The Umbu saw and heard everything. When they told me what the villagers said, I was not surprised they were dead. They threatened to do horrible things to Sakura. At first I thought that Naruto suppressed it, but during a mission to Wave he mentioned it. I'm just glad that Sakura doesn't though. The old Hokage says, "That doesn't change a thing." Minato says, "You are still Hokage, not the council full of advisors." I think it's time to remind them the true power of the Hokage, and a council meeting is needed for that to happen. Don't you think, Sarutobi? Minato asks. I certainly do, Minato. The council does need a huge reminder of who they are and who I am. Sarutobi says. Also, there's a major thorn on the council. Danzo. He has been trying to get Naruto into his root program, even if he says it's disbanded, and I have no proof to substantiate the claim. Well then, I guess it's time to inform the Fire Lord of the council's actions then. Minato says. He should have been informed the moment that they stole the power away from the Hokage. And that is treason, and the punishment is death. Kushina adds, the Fire Lord will not stand for this. He will straighten out the council and Danzo. The Hokage will be given all the power that was stolen once again, as should be. You two are absolutely right. Sarutobi says, and starts to write a letter to the Fire Lord. This should get the Fire Lord here quickly once he reads it. Summoning Jutsu. Minato calls out, and there's a puff of smoke and a small orange toad appears. Hey Minato, got any treats? The toad asks. Gamakichi, I need you to get this to the Fire Lord as fast as you can. Minato says, handing the scroll to the toad. It's imperative that he reads it, and here is your candy. Minato pulls out some candy from his pocket and tosses it to the toad, who catches it in his mouth and disappears in a puff of smoke on his way to the Fire Lord's castle. I take it the Fire Lord knows that you two are still alive. Sarutobi says. How do you think Jiraiya-sensei hasn't even found out? Minato says. Also, the toads agreed not to tell him, so we could operate without anyone knowing. What have you been doing, and how did you survive that night? Sarutobi asks. Protecting Naruto. Kushina states. We had no choice. If people found out that Minato had a child, they would try and kill him. So we had to kill them first before we could even think about coming home. Then we heard about what happened, Wave. Minato says. So we decided to come home without finishing off the rest of our enemies that are still around. Which isn't that many left, maybe 3 to 4. But we needed our son to know that we are still alive and that we wanted to be around and watch him grow up. That incident, though, prevented it from happening. Minato says, putting his head in his hands, and Kushina puts a hand on his shoulder. The reason we're still alive right now is because someone else used the Reaper Death Seal on Kurama. Kushina says. Flashback October 10th, 13 years ago. After the defeat of the Masked Man, Minato and Kushina are facing off against Kurama, who is trying to break the Jinjutsu that was put on him. Minato. Kushina, I can't release this Jinjutsu. You have no choice, you have to seal me away again. Kurama roars. Kushina, we have no choice but to use Naruto for this. If we don't, then there won't be a village for him to grow up in. Minato says with tears in his eyes. Okay, Minato, let's do it. Go get Naruto while hold I Kurama back. Kushina says, and Minato leaves in a yellow flash and returns the same way, only with a small bundle in his arms. Minato hands Naruto to Kushina and does a series of hand seals and slams his hand on the ground. Summoning Jutsu, Minato says, and a giant toad appears. Hey, Bunta, we need your help here. Minato, that's the nine-tailed fox. I can't beat him. Gamabunta says. Minato, hurry. Kurama yells. Minato, how does the Nine-Tails know you? Bunta asks. No time to explain. Minato says. I need you to hold him down, and when I tell you, jump away from him. I'm going to seal him into my son. Eli, Lord o Hokage. A voice calls out. They turn to look at who it was, and they see a dying Uchiha. His black hair covered in blood. His body barely holding itself together. Momoto, what are you doing out here? Minato asks. You should have been heading towards the hospital. Let me do it. Let me seal the fox away, the village needs you. Momoto says. I'm dying anyway, so I might as well do something before I go. This is my duty as Ho. Minato starts to say. Lord Hokage, please, I don't have much time, I need to do this. You have a son who needs to be with his parents. I don't have anyone like that. So please let me. Okay, Mamoto, activate your Sharingan and copy the hand seals for the Reaper Death Seal. Minato says and goes through the hand seals and Mamoto copies them. Bunta hold him for just a little longer. Okay, Mamoto, are you ready? Once you start, there is no going back. I'm ready, Lord Hokage. Mamoto says and start to do the hand seals. Gamma Bunta now. Minato yells and Gamma Bunta jumps off of Kurama as Mamoto reaches the last hand seal and seals the fox within himself and puts it in Naruto. As well, then Minato uses a different seal to keep the fox at bay. 8 trigram seal. Minato says sealing Kurama into Naruto. In flashback, that is how we survived the attack and the sealing. Minato says, Mamoto Uchiha gave his life so that we could be with Naruto, but we ended up still leaving him. Minato, you did what you had to do. Sarutobi says, if you stayed, who knows who would have been after Naruto. His life probably would have been better than what it was, though. He would have a family who loved him. He wouldn't have been beaten. None of the stuff that happened to him would have happened to him. Kushina argues. Sarutobi just sighs and thinks about all the things that have happened to Naruto since that dreadful October night. The constant beatings, his first kills at age 4. Thrown out of the orphanage at the same age. Starved, hospitalized, Sakura befriending him, Sakura's parents disowning her. Naruto and Sakura getting together during their 4th year at the academy. The friends that Naruto has made during the academy. All the pranks that he and Sakura have pulled, like painting the entire shopping district black with paper bombs filled with paint instead of explosives and giving Umbu a run for their money. Painting the Hokage monument just before graduating from the academy. Sarutobi looks at Minato and Kushina. Naruto's life isn't all bad, you know. He has a hard life, true, but he also has had a lot of good times as well and made friends too. Don't wallow in what could have been, but think about what is. Yeah, I suppose you are right. We are here now, and we will never leave him again. He has parents who care about him. He will never be alone again. Kushina says, well, I guess we should be heading back home and wait for Gamakichi to return with a reply from the Fire Lord. Minato says, standing up along with the aged Hokage and Kushina. Oh, Sarutobi. Minato says, do you know the key to beating paperwork? He asks. Why do you? Sarutobi asks and sees Minato smirk. Then he does something that no Kage has done before. He starts to beg on his knees. Please tell me, I need to know. Paperwork is the bane of my existence, he says with his hands in a prayer-like manner. Minato smiles at the sight before him. You know, the shadow clone jutsu really helps a lot and shaves off time too. Minato says, and Hiruzen started to hit his head on the floor multiple times. How could I have been so stupid? Hiruzen says, they call me the professor. He says, and sees a flash of yellow, and then nothing. Well, here goes nothing. Shadow, clone jutsu. Namake's compound. When Minato and Kushina arrive in the compound training ground, they see multiple clones of Naruto and Sakura practicing different things. Wow, that is quite the number of clones. Minato says, mouth agape. How can you make so many? He asks. Actually, Lord Hokage, we learned from you. Sakura says. Sakura, there is no need to be so formal. You can call me Minato. Minato says, I'm not Hokage anymore, and what do you mean you learned from me? We use the seals that you yourself used. Sakura says, we use gravity seals and chakra restriction seals. She explains. Those are complex seals. I'm impressed that you figured them out at such a young age. Minato praises, and there is a small puff of smoke. Hey Minato, I have a response from the Fire Lord. Gamakichi says, handing the scroll to Minato. Thanks, Gamakichi, and give your father my best. Minato says, and the toad disappears. Wow, that was fast. I was expecting an hour, not 20 minutes. What is it, Dad? Naruto asks as the clones slowly disperse themselves. This is a reply from the Fire Lord. Minato answers, shocking the genin. It says he will be here tomorrow. That's at 5 little words. I better go and inform Sarutobi. Minato says and disappears using his famous technique, and the clones are done dispersing themselves. Naruto and Sakura exchange looks of shock and worry that the Fire Lord is coming to the Leaf tomorrow. Why is the Fire Lord coming here, Lady Kushina? Sakura asks. Kushina just smiles at her and replies, Sakura, like Minato, said, there is no reason to be so formal with us, and to answer your question. It's because there are a few people who need to be straightened out on the council. Does that mean my heritage will be brought to light? Naruto asks in a worried tone. Yes, it does, Kushina says, and notices the sad looks on the Genin's faces. Why are you so worried, Naruto? She asks. We have been dreading this day, Sakura says dejectedly, and Naruto makes his way into the house. Now, not only are they going to try and force Naruto into the CRA for his bloodline, but they're also going to try and suck up to him and kiss his ass. Sakura says hotly, forget all the horrible things that they did to us and throw their daughters at him just to get into his good graces. Just thinking about it makes me sick. Sakura, I understand how you feel, Kushina says, walking up to Sakura and placing a hand on her shoulder. Minato and I got lucky somehow, and we weren't forced into it. Forced into what? Minato asks as he reappears in the training ground. The CRA, Naruto states simply as he walks out of the house and towards Sakura and holds her hand. I'm sorry, you too, Minato says. I wish that there was something we could do. Actually, there is something, Sakura says, and everyone looks at her. Sakura, you can't be serious, Naruto says. We are way too young for that sort of thing. What are you two talking about? Kushina asks. Marriage, Sakura says. It's the only way out of it. Kushina sighs. You both are right. Marriage is the only way out of it, but you are too young for that sort of thing. Kushina, if Naruto doesn't get married by his 13th birthday, then Sarutobi will have no choice but to enforce it. Minato says, let's not worry about this right now. We still have a while until Naruto's birthday. Kushina says, and everyone agrees. So what was with the talking frog? Naruto asks. That my son was actually a toad, and he's a summon. Minato says, whenever Jiraiya-sensei returns, you will be able to sign the contract as well. Minato says. Naruto looks down at the ground. I'm sorry, Dad, but I won't be able to. You see, I already signed a summoning contract for the foxes. Actually, Kit, since you have the Rinnegan, you are able to sign more than one summoning contract. So your mate will be able to sign a contract as well, since she will be able to summon foxes through another means, but not by signing the contract. So your mate, if she so desired, could sign the toad's summoning contract as well. Kurama says. Also, any kits you have will also be able to summon foxes as well, since it will be in their chakra, like it is in yours. What is this other means you mentioned? Naruto asks. You and your mate will in essence have to mate by giving your vixen a mark that signifies that you two are together. During the act, you will bite her shoulder and pump my chakra into her own. That will be how she will be able to summon foxes, as she will get some of my chakra through the wonderful act. Kurama explains with a perverted grin. According to Kurama, I am able to sign more than one summoning contract because of the Rinnegan. Naruto says. Also, Sakura will be able to sign the toads, even though later on she will be able to summon the foxes as well. Naruto, how will I be able to summon the foxes when I haven't even signed the fox contract? Sakura asks. That is, well, Kurama said that during certain activity, I would bite your shoulder, marking you as my mate, and giving you demonic chakra in the process, in turn giving you the ability of summoning foxes, as will our future children and their children's children. Naruto explains. The fox contract will become the clan's summon. So we would have to? Sakura asks, and Naruto nods his head. Next thing he knows is Sakura passing out from blood loss from her nose, as does Kushina. Who knew Mom was a closet pervert? Naruto asks with a smile on his face while trying to wake up Sakura. I hope that she didn't pass out from your training, because my training starts now. A voice says from the doorway of the house, and they look to see who it is, and see Zabuza standing there in his new leaf Jonin attire. Lord Fourth Hokage, I thought that you were dead. Zabuza says, shocked to see Minato standing there. Yes. Well, due to certain events, my wife and I are still alive. Minato says, we just returned today. I guess when the Fire Lord arrives tomorrow, we will announce that we are still alive and that Naruto is our son. Minato says, and Sakura and Kushina both start to wake up. Well, glad to see that you are awake, Sakura, since Zabuza is here and ready to train us. Isn't that right, Zabuza-sensei? Naruto asks. That's correct. I will be training you too until Haku wakes up, then Naruto will be learning from him in ice manipulation. Zabuza says, let's get started. I will not only be training you too in ninjutsu, but testing you in kenjutsu as well. So prepare yourselves. Zabuza says and charges at Naruto and Sakura while drawing his own sword. It's been 2 months since the council has been disbanded and reformed. Danzo's crimes as well as Koharu's and Hamura's have been brought to light, and so has Naruto's heritage, which brought on all of Sasuke's fangirls to start chasing him only to lose him when he uses the Shunshin to get away. Flashback 2 months ago. The council room is quiet until Naruto, Sakura, Minato, and Kushina enter the room. So the fourth has returned to kill the dam. The council member could not finish a sentence as he had lost his head courtesy of Kushina. An uproar starts and Sarutobi calls for silence, adding a huge amount of killer intent. If anyone dares call my son a demon anymore, they will be silenced for good. No imprisonment, just death. Minato says, adding his own killer intent. Naruto, if you would be so kind and show these fools who are called council members why we are. The Fire Lord says. Certainly, my lord. Naruto says and looks at Sakura. Sakura, may I have the items, please? Naruto says, and Sakura hands them to him, and he places them on the table so the members of the council can see. Now in front of me are 2 items commonly used in the ninja world. Who here can explain what they are? Naruto asks and looks around and spots Danzo. So this is Danzo. I'm gonna have some fun with this, Naruto thinks to himself. How about you, the one who looks like a mummy? Can you tell me what this is? Naruto says, holding up an item. Mind your elders, boy, and yes, I can tell you what that is. Any ninja can. That is a kunai. Danzo says, sneering at Naruto. Okay, you're right. I should mind my elders. I apologize for that. Naruto says sincerely, then he gets a small smile on his face. There's just one thing, though. Can you tell me where my elders are? Because I just can't seem to find one anywhere. How about you, Sakura? Naruto asks, and she shakes her head, and Danzo lunges at Naruto, who only smirks when Danzo stops suddenly. If you're wondering why you can't move all of a sudden, it's because you're caught in the Naraz clan jutsu, the shadow possession jutsu. Naruto says and activates the Rinnegan and stares at Danzo. Now I know your secret, Danzo. Naruto says low enough for only him to hear and deactivates the Rinnegan. That can wait, even though I now have grounds to kill you since you attacked a leaf shinobi without cause. You still need to tell me what this is. Naruto says, holding up the other item. That's a scroll. Danzo says, still sneering at Naruto, who smiles at him. Thanks, mummy. Now watch what I do and explain to me what it is I did. Naruto says, and he opens the scroll and places the kunai, the scroll, then makes a half ram seal and seals the kunai into the scroll. So you seal the kunai into the scroll, so what? A council member says on the civilian side. Naruto just shakes his head and sighs. For those on the shinobi side of the council, did the kunai become the scroll it was sealed in? He asks. No, it didn't. Shikaku says lazily. That's a nice trick, boy. But what was the point of it all? Hamura asks. Wow, and here I thought you had to be smart to be on the council. I guess I was wrong in that regard. Naruto says. Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, and my father, used his only son, me to seal the 9-tailed fox into me, just like I sealed the kunai into the scroll, and the scroll did not become the kunai itself. I am the scroll, and the fox is the kunai. If anyone is a demon, it's you and the rest of the villagers who saw me as the demon and beat on Sakura just for being friends with me. Multiple times we were close to death. If it wasn't for the Umbu who showed up as we were getting beaten, we probably would be dead. Naruto says and activates the Rinnegan once more. This is the bloodline that activates when seeing those close to you die or seeing severe trauma being dealt to a loved one. I awoke this at 6 years old during an attack. And speaking of Umbu, shortly before I passed out during an attack, I noticed several Umbu with faceless masks, just standing there watching the entire thing. You were getting what you deserved, you little ingrate. A council member says. I deserved it, Naruto says hotly and with a look of pure anger on his face. I was a little kid and you all laughed at my pain and suffering. I'm surprised at one thing though. You don't cower in fear that I am the son of the 4th Hokage. Oh, and just so, you know there's someone on this council who is a traitor. has multiple Sharingan up and down their right arm, and has one in their right eye. Naruto says, all it would take is the Byakugan to prove me right or wrong. Hayashi activates his Byakugan and sees that Naruto is right. So, if it's true you do have a Sharingan Danzo, Hayashi says, shocking the entire room. I knew that Itachi didn't go insane and slaughter his clan. You ordered it to be done, and the only way for an Umbu to follow any order is by order of the Hokage. Sakura says, Danzo, for your crimes against the leaf, you are hereby placed under arrest. The Fire Lord states, and Umbu appear and grab Danzo by the arms. You also might want to add associating with a known missing mean. I noticed with style chakra flowing through his arm as well. Naruto says, associating with Orochimaru as well. Danzo, you are worse than the scum of the earth. Minato says, Umbu, take him to Ibiki so we can get as much information out of him as we can and sever his right arm and burn it. Arrest those two as well for allowing Danzo to pose as the Hokage. He says, pointing at Koharu and Hamura, who try to flee but are stopped by Umbu. Danzo, you told me that you disbanded Root a long time ago, yet you defied my order. The third Hokage says, we will soon find out exactly what else you've been hiding from us. Get those three out of my sight. Sarutobi says, and the Umbu take the three elders away to Ibiki. I'm disappointed in this council. The Fire Lord says, Hokage, I realize that there are a few whom you trust, but I suggest that you get new council members. I hereby give all power back to the Hokage and disband this council until the Hokage states otherwise. That boy needs to be placed into the CRA immediately. A former council member says, pointing at Naruto. Did you not hear me? The Fire Lord says, you no longer have any power. This council is finished until stated by your Hokage. So Naruto is not placed into the CRA. This meeting is adjourned. The Fire Lord says and heads to the Hokage's office with Naruto, Sakura, Minato, Kushina, and Sarutobi close behind. In flashback to Naruto, Sakura yells into Naruto's ear. What is it, Sakura? Naruto asks, rubbing his ear. You weren't answering me. I was getting worried. Sakura says, what were you thinking about? She asks, sitting next to him. It's nothing, Naruto says and looks at her. I'm sorry for worrying you. It's okay, but we should get going if we want to meet Konohamaru like we promised. Sakura says, and they head to the rooftops to get to the meeting place on time. Hey Naruto, Sakura. A little boy wearing a long blue scarf says when they appear. Are you really going to help us get stronger so we can be strong like you? He asks, jumping up and down. Yes, Kono, we are. Now hold still while we put these seals on you to help with strength, speed, and chakra, all right? Naruto tells the boy. Sure thing, boss. Konohamaru says as Naruto and Sakura start to draw the seals on Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon. There, all done, Sakura says. Now be careful when training so you don't hurt yourselves, okay? Now let's get running. We will give you a 30-second head start, then we'll chase you to test your endurance, all right? She says, and the 3 academy students take off. They're good kids, don't you think, Naruto? Sakura asks. Yeah, they are. Naruto replies, and takes a longing look at Sakura, picturing her holding their child. He then snaps out of it, realizing that it's time to start chasing them. Well, time's up. Shall we? Okay, then let's go, Sakura says, and they give chase. About 10 seconds after giving chase, they hear yelling and speed up. Hold on, you 3, we're coming, Sakura says, and then thinks to herself. I hope we're not too late. Hey, let him go, you bully, Moegi says as Sakura and Naruto appear on either side of the attackers with their katanas in their hands poised for attack. I'd do as I was told if I were you, Sakura says. Just because we are allies and you are here for the Chunin exams doesn't give you the right to cause trouble. Naruto says, so let him go, or you will not only be thrown out of this village, but you will also be severely injured because you not only attacked a villager, but a ninja in training. I'm also the Konohamaru starts, but shuts up because of Sakura. Shut up, Konohamaru. Say no more. Sakura says and looks the Sand Genin. And if you continue, well, I doubt your partner over there in the tree will be able to help you. Oh, you didn't know? Naruto asks, seeing the shocked look on their faces. Wow, I thought anyone could sense his bloodlust. That's interesting, don't you think, Sakura? Naruto asks, looking towards the tree and seeing a boy with a huge gourd on his back wearing brown and red clothes and has red hair as well. This bloodlust is insane. Naruto thinks. Temari, Kankuro, knock it off. You're an embarrassment to our village. The boy says in a deep, gruff voice. Gaara, we didn't this brat. Kankuro stutters. Shut up, or I'll kill you. The boy now known as Gaara says, and Kankuro lets Konohamaru go, and Naruto catches him before he can hit the ground, and is back to where he was to begin with. Thanks, boss. Konohamaru says, rubbing his throat. No problem, stay behind me though. Naruto replies, and Kono does what's asked of him. All three Sand Genin have the same thoughts going through their minds. What speed? Who is this guy? I'm gonna have to check your IDs and report this incident to the Hokage. Sakura says, and Gaara appears on the ground using his Sand Shunshin. Understand here. Gaara says, handing all three to Sakura, who looks them over then looks at Naruto, who creates a clone to report to the Hokage. Thank you for your understanding. Sakura says, handing back the Sand Genin's IDs. What are your names? Gaara asks. It's polite to give your name first. Sakura says. Very well. My name's Gaara. This is Temari and Kankuro. Gaara replies. My name's Naruto Namikaze, son of the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze. Naruto says, shocking all three Sand Genin. Sakura Haruno. Sakura says. Good luck in the exams. Gaara says. Good luck to yourselves as well. Naruto says, and Gaara nods his head. As soon as they leave, Naruto and Sakura let out a breath that they didn't know they were holding. Thanks again, boss. You really saved us. Kono says, and then turns to Sakura and asks, why didn't you want me saying I'm the grandson of the 3rd Hokage, while Naruto got to say who he is? Sakura goes down to his height. Look, Kono, you are still an academy student, and we are ninja. If someone found out who you were, they could use you as leverage. So do us a favor and stay away from any foreign ninja, and keep the honorable grandson stuff down to nothing. At least until the exams are over, okay? She asks, and Konohamaru nods his head. To answer your question, Naruto can take care of himself if someone tried to take him. We have been training since we were 6, so don't worry, all right. Konohamaru nods his head again. Look, we have to meet our sensei now, so continue getting used to those gravity seals and be careful, all of you. Sure thing, Sakura. I'll keep Konohamaru in line. Moegi says. I'm sure you will, Moegi. Let's go, Naruto. Sakura says, but Naruto doesn't answer. Naruto. She starts getting frantic and shakes him. Whoa, Sakura, stop shaking me. Naruto says as his head is wobbly. Answer me, then, when I call your name. Don't just stare blankly at nothing. Sakura says. Now let's go, we have to meet Sensei. Right? Naruto says, and they head to Team 7's meeting place. I was talking to Kurama, and he confirmed my suspicions about this Gaara character. Naruto says. What did you find out? Sakura asks, worried about what the answer is. He's what I could have turned out to be if I let all the pain and suffering I've endured get to me. Naruto says. He holds the One Tails, according to Kurama. Sakura promised me if you meet him in a fight, run as fast as you can. If you face him, the chances of you coming out alive are practically 0. That is one thing I will not let happen. I promise, Naruto. Sakura says, and a couple of minutes later they appear at Team 7's meeting place. Hey guys, Kakashi says with a wave and sees no one acknowledge him. Naruto and Sakura are deep in thought, and Sasuke is in his brooding pose. Why, Sensei, what's up? Naruto asks as he snaps of his thoughts. I just came from the Hokage's office, and I nominated you 3 for the Chunin exams. Kakashi says, and that got Sasuke's attention. Just take these forms to room 301 in the academy tomorrow. Thanks, Sensei. Naruto and Sakura say, while Sasuke just jumped away. Naruto and Sakura walk back into the main area of the village. Naruto, Sakura, wait a minute. What's wrong with you two? Kakashi asks, worried about 2 of his students who are normally happy. We may have a problem with the exams. Sakura says. There's someone like me, and according to, he has one and has an insane bloodlust. The name's Gaara. Kakashi, Sensei, if it comes down to it for interference, I might be the only one who could do it, as I have the power of 9 behind me. This is not good. I need to report this to the Hokage. Kakashi says. How did you meet him? We were training Konohamaru and his friends like we promised, and when they were running, they ran into his two teammates. We were trying to get Konohamaru out of the Sanjin's hands, and then he appeared and told them to knock it off or he'd kill them. His bloodlust is insane, but I believe he has some control over it. But if something happens, he would turn on his teammates if they were in the way. Naruto says, Sensei, I'm serious. I don't want a repeat of 13 years ago. If he goes crazy, I will be the one to stop him. Kakashi sighs. Naruto, do you know what you were saying? You would be against the demon. Minato-sensei was lucky that someone else sealed the demon away and not him. But I can see that you aren't backing down from this. Okay, then I will let the Hokage and Sensei know that you are just as insane as he was. Kakashi says with a smile. Thanks, Sensei. Naruto says, and Kakashi leaves in a shunshin. Well, what are we going to do now, Naruto? Sakura asks. I have an idea. How about we go and get some lunch? It is that time, you know. Naruto says, and Ichiraku's isn't that far away. Fine, I guess we can have ramen today, since we had sushi last time. Sakura says, and they walk towards Ichiraku Ramen. When Naruto and Sakura get to Ichiraku's, they sit down and place their orders. So Naruto, are you worried about the exam tomorrow? Sakura asks. No, not really. Naruto replies, I mean, yeah, sure it will be tough, but Sensei says that we have what it takes to be Chunin already. So why worry about it? I suppose since that there's that Gaara person entering the exams, maybe we should worry about it. Sakura says, and their food is placed in front of them, and they start to eat. Do you censor Naruto? Sakura asks. Yea, do. Naruto sighs, rubbing his temples. After 15 bowls of ramen from Naruto and 2 bowls from Sakura, Naruto pays for the meal, and they leave the ramen stand. So Sakura, what do you want to do today? Naruto asks as he holds her hand. Ga, vena Naruto ora. A tiny stuttering voice says from behind them. Why can't she just leave us alone? Naruto and Sakura think at the same time. Hey, Hinata. Naruto says, icy tone. Why is Naruto acting this way? Hinata thinks. What do you want, Hinata? Sakura asks in the same tone. Why have you been following us? I was wondering if Naruto would like to. Hinata says, but Naruto interrupts. What, Hinata? Go out with you. Naruto asks hotly, and Hinata nods her head while tapping her fingers together. Well, Hinata, I will not go out with for 7 reasons. Naruto says, Reason 1, and probably the most obvious, I'm going out with Sakura. Reason 2, you're a stalker. Reason 3, you're brought up to where you don't question what anyone says. For example, say you were married to someone who told you couldn't do something. The way a Hyuga wife is supposed to act is, okay, husband, I understand. That is complete bullshit in my opinion. I want a girlfriend and then future wife who isn't like that, and well, you don't fit the package. Reason 4, I want someone who will tell me when I do something wrong or tell me to stop acting like an idiot. A Hyuga wife doesn't question what her husband says or does. Reason 5, I also want someone who loves me for me and not my heritage or watches me from afar. Can you figure out which one you are? Reason 6, also pretty obvious. We have nothing in common with each other. And reason 7, you never bothered to talk to me until now, so why would I go out with a complete stranger? Also, Hinata, Sakura says, if you keep this up, you will be arrested on stalking charges. So quit bugging us. You know as well as everyone else in our year that Naruto and I have been together since the 4th year at the academy. Sakura says, and Naruto sees the look of hate in Hinata's eyes. Hinata, I swear if you attack Sakura, I will hurt you. So don't even think about it. Naruto says as he activates his Rinnegan and turns around with Sakura hand in hand and then disappear in a swirl of leaves. On top of the Hokage monument, Naruto lets go of Sakura's hand and walks to the edge of the mountain. Sakura, Naruto says as he sits down on his father's head. What are we going to do about Hinata? She is our friend, but she is really pushing it. I honestly don't know, Naruto. Sakura replies as she sits down next to Naruto and looks out over the village. This really is a great view up here. Remember when you talked me into painting the monument the day we graduated from the academy? I still can't believe it took them until we were finished to notice what we did. Sakura says with a smile. That's what happens when nobody wants you around. They don't bother looking for you. Naruto says looking down. I bet Mom would have liked to see what we did to Dad's face, giving him a booger coming down from his nose. Talk about classic. Naruto says with his smile and laugh. Sakura just stares at him and grabs a hold of his hand and puts her head on his shoulder. I love you, Sakura. I love you too, my little fox. Sakura says, and they just sit there for hours talking about all the things they did when they were younger and not yet shinobi of the leaf. It is getting late and the sun is starting to go down. Wow, that's a beautiful sunset. Yeah, it is, but it doesn't even compare to you. Naruto says and kisses her on the lips gently, and she kisses him back. Shortly after, it starts to be a full-on makeout session. Sakura pushes Naruto onto his back and lays on top of him. You know, we could just go home instead of doing this on top of this hard rock. Naruto says, smirking up at Sakura with his hands on her back, and she looks down at him with her hands on the side of his head. Then what are we waiting for? Sakura asks, and she grabs his shirt and uses a shunshin to get them home and into his bed. Naruto activates the privacy seals to block out all noise from within the room. I'm so glad that your parents are out tonight. So am I. Naruto replies and kisses her again. As he rubs her back, she moans in pleasure. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke are walking up the stairs to the second floor of the academy. They exchange looks when there is a loud commotion ahead, and when they turn the corner, there is a large group of Chunin, and Naruto looks at the sign and smirks at the simple Jinjutsu over it. He nudges Sakura and points to the sign, and she too smirks. Sasuke, don't say anything about the Jinjutsu. If they can't see it, then they don't deserve to be Chunin. Just continue walking towards the stairs. Sakura says in a hushed tone when Sasuke opened his mouth. Sasuke nods his head, and they continue on up the stairs while he mentally slaps himself for almost telling all those weaklings about the Jinjutsu. Suddenly, they are stopped by a Chunin wearing a hideous green jumpsuit. What is your name, and will you please go out with me? The green-clad boy says with hearts for eyes. No, I won't go out with you. I'm already seeing someone, and my name is Sakura. Sakura says, now please move, we are on our way to see an old teacher. Who is this person who has stolen your heart, so I may fight for it? The boy says, not moving out of their way. Look, pal, I don't know who you think you are, but you just can't treat woman as an object to be won. Now move. Naruto says, grabbing Sakura's hand, and walk up the stairs. They get to the training hall when a voice calls out to them. You there, what are your two names? A voice asks. Team 7 turns around and looks up and sees the green-clad boy on the viewing platform. Wow, someone who doesn't know our names, I'm surprised. How about you? Naruto asks Sasuke. Yeah, I thought we were well known, especially me. Sasuke says. Ugh, boys, just tell him, so we can continue. Sakura says a little irritated. You take the fun out of everything, Sakura. Naruto says. Fine. My name is Naruto Namikaze. Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke says. My name is Rock Lee, and I challenge the Uchiha to a fight. Lee says, and Team 7 start laughing at him, and not because of his clothes or haircut either. You want to fight the strongest of us, right? Sasuke asks, still laughing slightly. Yes, that is correct. Lee says, what is so funny? Well, it's just that Sasuke isn't the strongest. In fact, he is the weakest on Team 7. The fact remains, though, we are the strongest Chunin squad to come out of the academy this year. Sakura says, so if you want to fight the strongest of us, you will be fighting Naruto. If you do fight him, you will lose the fight. Still interested? Sakura asks, and Sasuke gets pissed at the fact that he is the weakest on the team. Yes, I wish to test my strength against the strongest. Lee says, jumping down and getting into his stance. Don't take too long, Naruto. We have an exam to get to. Sakura says, kissing his cheek. This won't take long, Sakura. Naruto says, taking his katana off his back and hand it to her. So, it is you who has stolen Sakura's heart. I shall beat you and win her heart. Lee says, I was going to be nice and test your strength, but now I'm just going to knock you senseless. Naruto says and disappears and reappears behind Lee, aiming a kick to his side, and Lee has no time to dodge or block, so he ends up taking the full brunt of the attack and flies heading for a wall and twists his body in the air. Naruto sees this and appears above Lee and punches straight down, making him collide with the ground. Lee put his arms up to block most of the attack, but still is injured some. Lee gets up and charges at Naruto, who activates his Rinnegan and blocks every attack Lee throws at him. Naruto then sees an opening and kicks Lee in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Lee stands up holding his stomach in pain. I told you I would beat you senseless. Now continue harassing Sakura, and I will do far worse. I hate hurting fellow Leaf Ninja, but I will do it. Naruto says, walking towards Sakura and Sasuke, who is shocked at what he just witnessed. I would like to have a normal spar one day, but we do have the exams to attend. Good luck to you and your team. Naruto says, putting his katana back on his back. Good luck to you as well, and I too would like a friendly spar with you. Lee says and goes to meet with his team. Well, let's get to room 301 before we are late. Sasuke says, getting over the shock he was in, and they head to the designated room. When they appear before the double doors, they notice Kakashi waiting for them. What are you doing here, sensei? Sasuke asks. I came to wish you all good luck, and to see if all of you would enter. Kakashi says, because if one of you didn't enter, then you all would not be able to enter as well. Since you are all here, that's a moot point. So good luck, and be careful, these exams have caused deaths. He says, and then disappears in a swirl of leaves. Let's go on in, guys. Sakura says, and they push the doors open. When they enter the room, they notice 100 or so genin staring at them. Sakura looks around for the rest of the Rookie 9 and sees them standing near the wall and starts to walk over to them. Hey, Sasuke, Ino says, and jumps on his back. Get off, Ino. Sasuke says, and shrugs her off of him. So you guys are entering this as well? Troublesome. Shikamaru says, walking over to Team 7. Nice to see you as well, Shikamaru. Naruto says, and sees Hinata staring at him, tapping her pointer fingertips together, and she blushes. Hey, Kiba, can I talk to you for a second? Naruto asks. Sure, man, what's up? Kiba asks, and Naruto walks over to him. Listen, Hinata is a stalker, and she needs to stop. Sakura and I have explained to her that we are together and have been since the 4th year at the academy. Everyone knows this. I've also noticed that she has gotten worse since my heritage has been brought to light. I would hate to have a friend arrested on stalking charges. That's where you come in. I know that you like her, so do you think that you could get her the help she needs? Naruto says, I like her, just not like that. Yeah, sure, no problem. Kiba says. Naruto looks at Hinata and notices her glaring at Sakura, so he flares his killing intent and directs it at her, and she cringes fear. You guys are new to this, aren't you? A man says, with gray hair and a ponytail, wearing a purple and gray outfit. Everyone's staring at you because you are being loud, and everyone's on edge as it is. And you are? Naruto asks the suspicious young man. My apologies. My name is Kabuto Yakushi. I've taken these exams 7 times. This will be my 8th. They are held every 6 months. Kabuto says, pushing his glasses up the bridge of his nose. The exams can't be that tough. Kiba says with a laugh. These exams are tough, Kiba. Naruto says. People have died. These exams are no joke. You need to take this seriously, or you will just become part of the ratio of genin dying. Naruto explains. But they can't be too hard that someone has to take them 8 times. Naruto says to himself. He also smells weird. That's the stench of snake, Naruto. Kurama answers. I think we need to keep an eye on Kabuto here. Naruto says, and notice Kabuto to pull out a stack of cards. Where are those? Kiba asks. I'm glad that you asked. These are ninja info cards. I put any information I gather on a certain ninja or country and put them on the cards. Kabuto says, if you have someone you want to know about, I can help you. Just give me anything you have about them, and I will pull their info up. How about Gaara from the Sand Village? Naruto asks with a tight voice. Not Junam. Sasuke starts to say his last name, but Naruto puts a hand on his shoulder. Sasuke, don't say my last name. There are rock ninja over there, and remember who pretty much ended the Rock Leaf War single-handed about 16 years ago. Naruto says low enough only for him to hear. Right. What do you have on Naruto? Sasuke asks. Since you know their names, it takes the fun out of it. Kabuto says and lays 2 cards down and channels chakra into them as Gaara's and Naruto's information appears. Okay, then let's see. Gaara Taijutsu non-existent. Ninjutsu high, Jinjutsu non-existent. Has something called the ultimate defense, unknown if it's a bloodline or not. Mission stats 0 D ranks, 3 C rank, 16 B rank, 23 A rank, and 1 S rank, and has never been injured on a mission. Naruto looks at Gaara with cautiousness. Word to the wise, if you run into him, do not engage in combat. Just run, or you will die. Naruto says, never looking away from Gaara. You don't have to tell us twice, Naruto. Kiba says, Akamaru is scared of him. Next is Naruto, has the Rinnegan, knows a few ninjutsu and jinjutsu. Taijutsu and kenjutsu is low mid Chunin level. Mission stats 23 D ranks, 3 C ranks, 1 A rank solo, and 0 S rank. What was the solo A rank, Naruto? Kabuto asks. That information is only privy to a certain few, and I was told by the Hokage not to divulge that information to anyone. Naruto says in a believable voice. There's no way that he got all that information with looking through sealed records. Naruto thinks. I see. Kabuto says, and as he starts putting the cards away, there's a pop of smoke and a man in 30 or so Chunin behind him appear. Quiet down, you maggots. The man says in a deep voice, my name is Ibiki Marino, and I am your proctor for the first exam. Get a number and find your seats. Ibiki says, and 1 minute later the seats are all filled. Now the rules are simple. If you're caught cheating 5 times, your team fails. If anyone on your team has 0 points after the 10th question, your team fails. You start with 30 points as a team. That means individually you get 10 points. The 10th question will be revealed when there is 15 minutes left. You may begin now. Ibiki says when the second hand reaches the 12 and the examinees flip over their tests and start. Naruto looks at his test and smiles. Oh man, I won't even need to cheat, Naruto thinks. Wait, 5 times caught cheating. Why wouldn't they fail us after cheating once? His eyes widen in realization. Of course they want us to cheat, but to do in a secretive manner. I don't need to cheat, thought, so no big deal. He then starts to write down answers to the questions. Seems like your son has figured out Minato, but isn't cheating. I am impressed. Ibiki thinks to himself. I'm proud to be the one who is the proctor for this first exam. The Jonin Lounge. How do you think it's going in there? Kurenai asks. I'm not sure, but considering who the proctor is, anything is possible. Asuma says. Yeah, possibly the only 3 that stand a chance against Ibiki is my team, and not because your teams can't hack it. It's just that those 3 have had horrible pasts. Kakashi says. Naruto and Sakura were in the hospital almost every other day. Sasuke's entire family was slaughtered by his brother, and Ibiki is a sadist. He would try and break them, and doing so would be a little more difficult on them. A sadist? Kurenai asks, confused. Oh yeah, you're just a newly appointed Jonin. Asuma says. Well, Ibiki Marino is the head of the TNI department, /in torture and interrogation for those who don't know. He won't harm them to badly, just play mind games and make them feel like they won't be able to do it even if they could. The only ones who can handle it will pass this first part. Kakashi's right, his team will be able to handle this a lot easier than our teams could. Hinata has a hard life as well. Kurenai argues, getting a little hot under the collar. That's true, Kurenai, but Hinata is too timid. Her will is weak, and Ibiki won't have to try hard to break her. Kakashi says. Time skip. Academy Room 301. It's now time for the 10th and final question. Ibiki says. But first, those who... He is interrupted by the door opening. Just in time, take your seat. We enjoyed the puppet show. They saw it. Kankuro thinks and continues walking to his seat and drops a piece of paper onto Temari's desk. Now, as I was saying, the final question you have the option of taking. If you decide to take and get it wrong, you will not be able to take the exams ever again. Ibiki says. What? How is that possible? There are people here who have taken the exams plenty of times. Kiba yells. Well, they were just lucky that I wasn't their proctor then. Ibiki says. If you decide not to take it, then feel free to leave, and better luck next time. I'm sorry, guys, I don't know if I will be able to continue on. A Jinin from Grass says. Very well, 23 and 97 go with him. Ibiki says, and they leave the room. Anyone else? Ibiki asks, and more teams start to leave. Oh, the Hyuga heiress is going to quit as well. That's surprising. Ibiki thinks to himself. Hinata stands up. I am Sorushino Kibe. I don't think I can continue. She says. Very well, 19 and 35 go with her. Ibiki says, not missing a beat. Is there anyone else who wishes to withdraw from this portion of the exam? He asks and sees nobody else raise their hand. Okay, then everyone who is here passes. He smiles, freaking the Chunin out. What do you mean we all pass? Temari asks. What's the final question? That was the final question, whether or not you accepted it. Ibiki says. So, the other questions were a complete waste of time then? Temari asks. On the contrary, Ibiki says. The other questions were to see if you could cheat and not get caught. The object was to see how well you could gather information. As Chunin, you may be required to do things in the name of your respective villages and entrusted with its secrets. Ibiki says, taking off his headband, and reveals scars that make some of the Chunin throw up a little. This is the result of not giving up any information, and by taking the question you essentially took a mission. Those who left don't deserve to be Chunin, because they put their lives before the village. Sometimes you must accept the mission, even if knowing that you may not return home. Ibiki finishes, and the window shatters. A banner is put up by 2 kunai that reads, Sexy Proctor, Anko Mitarashi. You're early, Anko, Ibiki says, and Anko looks at the clock. So, I am, oh well. Nice to see that you haven't lost your touch, Ibiki. No matter though, I'll cut them down to half. Anko says, shocking most of the examinees. Meet me at training ground 44 in 1 hour. If you're late, you fail. Anko says, and then hops out the window, and everyone leaves the room to do whatever for the next hour. At the Namikaze compound. Mom, Dad, we're home. Naruto calls as he and Sakura enter the house. We're downstairs. Come on down for a second. We have something for you. Kushina calls back, and Naruto and Sakura comply. When they get to the basement, they notice a bunch of scrolls on the center table. What's all this for, Mom? Naruto asks with a confused look on his face. Well, you passed the first exam, so we took the liberty of packing essentials like extra kunai, shuriken, explosive tags, ninja wire, and clothes. Kushina says, everything that you will need for the Forest of Death is right here in these scrolls. I have something for you too as well. Minato says, coming out of the back room and handing each of them a scroll. I was going to wait until you became Chunin, but you've earned them. He says, and they open their scrolls and unseal whatever is inside of them. Wow, Dad, these are just like yours. Naruto says happily and hugs him. Thanks, Dad. Thank you, Minato, Sakura says, and they put them on. Naruto's is orange W/black flames and blue interior, and Sakura's is white with pink sakura petals that look like they fall to the hem every time she moves, in a pink interior. I had them fitted with seals so that way they will grow with you. Minato says, so all you have to do is put on once, and it will adjust to your body, and they stay like that even after you take it off. Oh, and don't worry about them being destroyed. I also fitted them with restoration seals, so they will never be ruined permanently. I had to do the same thing, as I ruined a lot of mine before I put seals on them. Minato says, laughing a little bit. Thanks again, Dad/Minato. Naruto and Sakura say in unison. Oh, Mom, how did you know that the second part of the exam is located? Naruto asks as they make their way to the kitchen. That's because whenever Konoha holds the Chunin exams, the second part is always located there. Kushina answers. At training 44 5 minutes before the exam starts. Cutting it a little close, don't you think, forehead? Ino asks. Nice cloaks as well, you two. Thanks, Piggy, and we actually planned to get here at this time, so we didn't have to wait a while for the second part of the exams to start. Sakura explains. So what's with the cloaks anyway? Shikamaru asks. Dad said that he was going to wait until we made Chunin, but said we earned them. Naruto says. Wow, Sakura, yours looks like the petals are falling to the bottom of the cloak. Ino says in amazement. Yep, that's how it was made. Sakura says. All right, if you're done admiring each other's clothes, eyes up here. Anko shouts, and they look up towards Anko. Now, then, welcome to Training Ground 44, otherwise known as the Forest of Death, or as I like to call home. At the center is a tower which you have 5 days to reach. There is a catch, though. You need to have 2 scrolls, a heaven and an earth scroll to be exact. Anko says, pulling out each scroll for them to see. Each team will get either one and has to get the other from another team by any means necessary. That means that there will be fights for them, and sometimes people die, and the tower is 18 miles away from each entrance. Now, Then everyone needs to fill out one of these forms before your team can give scroll. What are those forms for? A random Chunin asks. Glad you asked, Anko says, and holds a stack of forms in the air. These forms are liability forms, so that I nor the Leaf Village will be held responsible for any deaths that occur, and trust me, there will be deaths. Anko says as the Chunin each get a form and sign them. If you have your forms signed, head to the tent and get a scroll. If I see the Byakugan activated Hyuga, then your team is disqualified. Now, then on to ways that you can fail. If you open your scrolls before reaching the tower, you fail. The reasoning behind that is Chunin will be responsible for handling sensitive information. If you don't reach the tower in the allotted time, you fail. Once this exam starts, you can't leave. If you do, you fail, and if one of your teammates is incapacitated when you reach the tower, you fail. Any questions? Anko asks. What about food? Choji asks in a scared voice. Oh, well, there is plenty of food in there, but beware because some of the plants and animals are poisonous. The most dangerous thing in the forest, though, are the other competitors. If everyone has a scroll, proceed to the gate number you were handed along with your scroll. Anko says, and everyone heads to their designated area. Once everyone reaches their gate, a horn sounds, and the gates open, indicating the start of the second exam. It's been 2 hours since the second phase of exam started, and Team 7 hasn't run into any other teams yet. Sasuke, let's head to the river and set up camp. But first, I think I hear a tree calling my name. Be right back, Naruto says, and takes off to find a tree. A few minutes later, he returns and has an earth scroll in his hand. Actually, Sasuke, forget camp. Let's just head to the tower. Naruto says. Wait, how do we know that you are the real Naruto? Sasuke asks, getting into a defensive stance. Fine if you want proof that I'm the real Naruto. Naruto says and pulls out a piece of paper and writes something down. This is something only the real Naruto should know. He says and tosses the note to Sakura, who blushes as she reads it. Then quickly channels fire chakra in her fingers to burn the piece of paper. That's the real Naruto. Let's go. Sakura says and takes to the trees with her team behind her while Naruto laughs at his girlfriend's attitude. What did the notes say, Sakura? Sasuke asks Sakura, who blushes again. It's nothing, Sasuke. Sakura says quickly. Let's just hurry up and get to the tower, okay? While this was going on, Naruto was using his Rinnegan to search the area in case someone places them in a genjutsu or tries to sneak up on them. He senses someone following them and moves up to warn his team. Don't turn around, just keep looking forward. We're being followed, and they are more powerful than a mere genin. Naruto says, get to the forest floor, but don't stop moving. He orders, and his team complies. After traveling for about a half hour, Naruto flies through a series of hand seals and turns around. Earth style, earth wall. Naruto shouts and slams his hands on the ground, blocking the force of the wind jutsu used as it hit the wall full force. He goes through another series of hand seals. Earth style, earth dragon projectile jutsu. Naruto shouts, and a dragon forms in the center of the earth wall and fires mud projectiles at the assailant. Naruto, what's wrong? Sakura asks, seeing the look of fear on his face. Ku. A voice laughs, and carrying a lot malice with it. My mind earth wall and an earth dragon as well. That's quite impressive for a genin. Where are you? Show yourself, you bastard. Naruto yells as Team 7 continues looking around back to back. My, that's quite a mouth on you, Namikaze. The voice says while laughing again. How the hell do you know my name? Naruto growls. You know what, fuck this. If you won't show your face, we'll just sniff you out. Ready, Sakura? Naruto says, and Sakura nods her head, and they both fly through a series of hand seals. Summoning jutsu. They both shout, placing their hands on the ground, and there's a puff smoke, and 2 foxes appear, a white fox and a blue fox, each having 2 tails. What do you need of us, Lady Sakura? Lord Naruto. The foxes ask. Katara, Saito, we need you to find out where the person tracking us is. Sakura asks. No problem. The blue fox, called Saito, says, and they both sniff the air and then look at their summoners. Lady Sakura, he's over there, and be careful, he smells like a snake. The white fox, called Katara, warns. Not good. Not good at all. If we hope to survive, we will need to work together. Naruto says, scared. What are you talking about, loser? Sasuke asks Naruto, now even more annoyed with him. Oh my god, Sasuke, do you even think? Sakura says in a pissed voice. He's saying that the only people that should smell like snake are Anko, the proctor of this exam, and Orochimaru's class, missing Nin of the Hidden Leaf Village. Sakura says, drawing her katana, as does Naruto. Coo, aren't we perceptive little ones, aren't we? Orochimaru says, laughing. Do you even know how to use those swords? Or is it just for show? He asks. Shut the fuck up, you gay pedophile freak. Naruto says, slamming his hands on the ground, making giant crystals charge towards the snake bastard's location, who sneers at Naruto as he jumps out of the way. I am not gay. Orochimaru hisses at Team 7. So you're a pedophile freak. Sakura says in a matter-of-fact voice, and her remark is met with silence. Oh my god, it's true, haha. Naruto says, holding his stomach. I knew it with all those sick experiments I read that you did on little children. You'll die, you little brat. Orochimaru hisses and charges at Team 7, and Naruto activates his Rinnegan and Sasuke activates his Sharingan. Naruto and Sakura stab their katanas into the ground, and Team 7 goes through a series of hand seals and shout. Collaboration ninjutsu. Mega Fireball Jutsu. Team 7 shouts. 2 Fireball Jutsus and a great breakthrough. The jutsu hits Orochimaru dead on and engulf him in flames, but he turns to mud. Lady Sakura to your right. Katara shouts as Orochimaru appears, and Team 7 goes through another series of hand seals. Fire Style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Team 7 shouts and fire 30 or so many fireballs at the snake Sannin while the foxes guard their backs. Damn it, we need to escape. We won't be able to beat one of the Sannin. Naruto growls and flies through another series of seals. Earth Style, Rising Stone Pillars. Naruto says, and giant pillars rise up from the ground, and the treacherous serpent has a little trouble evading them, but is successful in the end. Naruto goes through another series of hand seals. Lightning Style, Black Panther Jutsu. Naruto says, and a panther forms and charges at Orochimaru, but he dodges it. Naruto, we need to warn somebody. Sakura yells, you have to use that chakra. Right? Naruto says, Kurama, I need a huge chakra spike. Naruto says to the fox. How much kit? Kurama asks. Enough to reach the Hokage's tower. Naruto says and makes the ram hand sign and starts to build as much chakra as he can. On it, Kurama says and starts to flood Naruto's chakra pathways with his chakra as Naruto molds it and then releases all the built-up chakra, and it explodes outwards. The Hokage Tower. Then let's. The Hokage says and feels Kurama's chakra. Sarutobi, that's Kurama's chakra. Kushina says, Naruto's in trouble, he shouldn't need to use his chakra in the exam. Lord Hokage. And Umbu says as he appears in the office and kneels down on a knee. We have just received word that Orochimaru is in the village. Hiruzen stands up, gets squads 2, 9, 12, and 10, and head towards where the fox's chakra was sensed. He orders, and the Umbu leaves in Shunshin. Back in the forest. Damn that brat, he has the 9 tails in him. Orochimaru sneers. I have to do this now, or it will never happen, but those damn foxes can sense where I am before I attack. Orochimaru then smiles at Naruto. Well, that was an impressive trick, Naruto. I would love to see what else you can do, or was that it? Orochimaru says, and Naruto falls to his knee. I guess that was it, oh well. Maybe Sasuke can do more. He does seem stronger than Itachi, but I could be wrong. He says, goading Sasuke into attacking him one-on-one. I'll destroy you and Itachi. Sasuke roars and pulls out a Demon Wind Shuriken out of his pack and launches it at Orochimaru, who dodges it, but gets stuck to a tree because of a ninja wire, and Sasuke goes through a long series of hand seals. Fire Style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. Sasuke shouts, and flames go down the wire and engulf Orochimaru in flames as he screams in agony. Sasuke smirks at the job that he'd done, thinking that Orochimaru was finished. When the flames died down, Orochimaru is still there and smiling at Sasuke and licking his lips. That was impressive, Sasuke. I think that you are worthy of my gift. Orochimaru says and makes the ram hand sign and stretches his neck and latches onto Sasuke's, and he screams in pain, and after the snake Sannin, let's go, Sasuke collapses on the ground. Sasuke, no. Naruto screams. You fucking bastard. You'll pay for that almighty push. Naruto shouts after raising his hand. Orochimaru slams into the tree with as much chakra as Naruto put into that jutsu. Orochimaru dissolves into mud, though shocking Naruto. If Sasuke wants more power, he will seek me out. Cool. Orochimaru laughs and disappears into the tree as a bunch of kunai and shuriken embed themselves into the tree branch. Umbu appears shortly after and surround Team 7. Are you three all right? The Umbu with the cat mask asks. Naruto goes over to Sasuke and looks at his neck, and his worst fears have been realized. Sasuke did get the curse mark. Get my father, Kakashi-sensei, and the Hokage. Orochimaru gave Sasuke the curse mark. Naruto says, and picks up Sasuke and puts him on his shoulder and heads toward the tower with Sakura and the foxes following close behind. The Umbu teams rush to report what Naruto said. Sakura, can you keep up? Naruto asks. We have to hurry up. Sasuke only has a 1/10 chance at survival. I can keep up, Naruto. I didn't use as much chakra as you did, Sakura says, and they push themselves even harder. 5-hour time skip. When Naruto and Sakura enter the tower, they come across a poem on the wall and open the scrolls, and there's a pop of smoke, and Irika appears. Irika-sensei, we need to get these two to the infirmary. Enter the Hokage, my father, and Kakashi-sensei here. Naruto asks before Irika could even open his mouth. Right this way, and who is the girl? Irika asks as they make their to the infirmary. We don't know. All we got out of her is Orochimaru. Naruto says with venom in his voice. We were attacked by Orochimaru, and he gave Sasuke the curse mark. We came here right afterwards. They enter the infirmary. Put them here. A doctor says, seeing Sasuke and the girl being carried in. Naruto, Sakura, are you two all right? Minato asks, seeing them in the infirmary. We're fine, Dad. Naruto says. I don't know about Sasuke and the girl, though. Sakura speaks up. I ran a prognosis, and the girl seems to be fine. She's just suffering from chakra exhaustion. Sasuke, though, has a high fever, borderline life-threatening. Why don't we continue this conversation upstairs? The Hokage says, and they head to the Hokage's office within the tower. Once there, the Hokage takes his seat. Before we begin, sir, what's going to happen now? Naruto asks. We had an incapacitated teammate upon reaching the tower. Nothing will happen considering there was outside interference. So you're allowed to continue with the exams. Sarutobi says, easing the Genin's hearts on the matter. Now explain to me what happened in the forest. When we entered the forest, nothing happened for a while. Then I had to find a tree. Naruto says, I was attacked by a rain ninja, and I got my team the other scroll needed to finish this part of the exam. We continued on, and were making good time. I then sensed that we were being followed, so I ordered my team to head to the forest floor. After traveling for a half-hour more, I felt the usage of wind chakra, and a strong breeze headed our way. So I put up an earth wall to block the wind-style jutsu, and then created an earth dragon jutsu right afterwards. A huge bloodlust and killing intent was directed towards us, and Orochimaru started talking to us and trying to goad us into fighting him. Naruto and I then summoned the foxes Saito and Katara, who sniffed him out and warned us that he smelled like snake, and that is how we knew we were up against one of the Sannin. Sakura says, taking over where Naruto left off. Naruto put his hands on the ground and used crystals to attack Orochimaru's hiding place, forcing him in the open. We knew that if we ran, we wouldn't get very far, so we had no choice but to stay and fight. When we attacked him together, we had him on the defense, and we were doing very well thanks to Sensei's training. We knew, though, that we wouldn't last much longer, even with our wide range of jutsu. So I told Naruto to use Kurama's chakra to send out a signal, and it drained him a little bit. It was enough, though, for Sasuke to be goaded into a fight against Orochimaru alone, because in Naruto's condition, if Orochimaru attacked him, Naruto would not have been able to defend himself. Sakura says, and Naruto puts his head down in shame. Naruto, don't blame yourself. What you did was the right thing to do in that situation. Minato says, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. But if I didn't do that, though, Sasuke might not have gotten that damned curse mark. Naruto says, sitting in a chair. Please continue, Sakura. Minato says, knowing now's not the time to discuss this. While Sasuke went after Orochimaru and pinned him to a tree using a demon windmill, shuriken, and ninja wire. He then used the dragon flame jutsu to burn Orochimaru. We thought that it was over until Orochimaru was still there. He then made a hand seal and bit Sasuke's neck, giving him the curse mark. Naruto screamed and used the almighty push to get that snake away from us. Orochimaru then said that if Sasuke wants more power to seek him out. Umbu then appeared shortly after, and Naruto told them what happened and that they needed to let Minato, Kakashi-sensei, and you Lord Hokage know after seeing the curse mark. We then left and came across a red-haired girl being attacked by a giant bear, and we saved her. Sakura says, "Speaking of Kakashi-sensei, where is he?" She asks, and the door opens revealing said person. "Sorry I'm late. I was checking on Sasuke's condition." Kakashi says, "How is he, Kakashi?" Minato asks. "He isn't doing good. He has a very high fever. He's also in a lot of pain. The doctors are doing the best that they can. As for the girl, she is awake and wants to see the Hokage and the ones who save her life." Kakashi replies, "Very well. I'll give you 3 a minute before coming down." Sarutobi says to Naruto and Sakura. The redhead's room. When Naruto and Sakura get to the room the girl is staying and she smiles at them. "Thank you for saving me today. I owe you my life. My name is Karen Uzumaki," the girl says, and that gets Naruto's and Sakura's attention, and Naruto creates a shadow clone to tell the Hokage about this. "What's wrong?" Karen asks. "Did I say something I shouldn't have?" She asks with a scared voice, and Naruto shakes his head. "No, Karen, everything's fine. It's just that my mother's last name is Uzumaki," Naruto says with a smile. "Before you passed out, you mentioned Orochimaru. How do you know him?" he asks. "He owns me and my older sister Tayuya. Only he gave her the curse mark, though, and I tried to figure it out, but I couldn't. Now she guards him, but we still talk to each other sometimes." Karen says. "How do you contact her?" Sakura asks. "I put a mental link within the curse mark so I can contact her, or she can contact me." Karen says. "Have you told her what happened?" Sakura asks. "Yeah, I told her Orochimaru attacked me and my team. Now she's pissed, and she can really cuss up a storm." Karen says with a laugh. "Karen, can you explain to your sister that there's family here and that she can stop working for Orochimaru, my father, and I can take a look at the curse mark and figure out how to get rid of it?" Naruto says, and Karen nods her head. After a few minutes, Karen is done, and Sarutobi, Kakashi, Minato, and Kushina enter the room. Tayuya says that she'll be at the gates in about 10 minutes. She really wants the hickey gone. Karen says, confusing the hell out of the adults. Long story short, this is Karen, Tayuya big sister. Karen put mental link in the curse mark Orochimaru gave Tayuya. Sakura says and gets a lot of O's, Asanoke's. "Well, Minato, shall we go and await our guest?" Sarutobi asks, and Minato agrees. "Oh, Dad, before you go, just a forewarning. She pretty much cusses nonstop." Naruto says, and Minato just sighs as he and Sarutobi leave in a shunshin and a flash. "Karen, what did you need to speak to the Hokage about?" Kushina asks. "Orochimaru plans on attacking the village." Karen says, shocking all Leaf Shinobi in the room. He says that he will make the leaf pay and watch it burn to the ground along with its fool of a Hokage. He plans on using his village and the hidden sand village as well. He didn't tell me how he got sand involved in this, though. "Karen, why would Orochimaru tell you this?" Kakashi asks. Karen puts her head down. "I used to work for Orochimaru. He killed our parents and blamed it on thugs or rogue ninja. When Tayuya found out that it was him, she was furious. She swore to me that she would get us out of his grasp. She never could find a way, though. I'm really glad you two found me." Karen says, raising her head and smiles at them. They start talking about what Orochimaru had Tayuya and Karen do. Time skip. After about 30 minutes pass, they hear someone yelling and cussing in the hall. Karen, where the fuck are you?" A loud voice asks, and Naruto sticks his head out the door. "She's in here," Naruto says. "Are you Tayuya?" he asks. "Yeah. Who the fuck are you?" Tayuya asks. "I'm one of the ones who saved Karen and you, apparently," Naruto says. "And we know what Orochimaru is planning. We need to do something about your mouth, Tayuya. The first time I said that word was when I was fighting against Orochimaru with my team." You fought against that fucker and are still breathing. Taiyuya says, way to go, cuz. She notices the down looks on Naruto and Sakura. We may still be breathing, but our teammate still got the fucking curse mark. Naruto says, now you're making me say it more. Sasuke, Uchiha, right? Taiyuya asks, getting shocked looks on the Leaf Nin's faces. We are supposed to escort him to the hidden sound to be the snake fucker's next vessel. You don't mean he perfected that jutsu, do you? Kushina asks. In Naruto's, right, you do need to clean up your mouth. Yeah, that bastard. He perfected his immortality jutsu. And since I'm gone, he's going to want the Uchiha even more now. Not just because he wants the Sharingan either, but because the Sound 4 just became the Sound 3. Taiyuya says, Sasuke will want to go to Orochimaru just as badly. That bastard made the curse mark stronger since the Sound 4's creation. Did you tell this to the Hokage and Minato-sensei? Kakashi asks. Yep, told them when I got to the main gates of the village and on the way here. Taiyuya says, I also told them that there's a traitor here in the Leaf by the name of Kabuto Yakushi. Kabuto Yakushi. Naruto and Sakura yell. I take it you met him. Taiyuya says. You could say that. Naruto says with disdain in his voice. I knew something wasn't right about him. He knew too much about what I could do, and some of what he said were sealed away. So Orochimaru knows all I can do, that's just great. He would try and take me out since I could become a threat in the future. Especially since I have the Rinnegan. Wow, you have the Rinnegan. That's awesome. Taiyuya yells. And you're right, Orochimaru could perceive you as a threat in the future, but lucky you. You have someone who knows all of Orochimaru's tricks. And about Kabuto, he is a strong medic, and his skills overall are close to Umbu level. He has been training under Orochimaru since his defection from a leaf. That's just great. An Umbu medic Nin whose combat skills rival Kakashi-sensei's. Sakura says, all right then, Karen, the doctors are going to keep you here for observation. Taiyuya, you can stay here, or you can come with me and check out your new home. Kushina says, I'll stay here for now and go when Karen is out of here. Taiyuya replies, sitting down in the chair next to Karen's bed. That's fine. Kushina says, if you don't mind my asking, what were your parents' names? She asks. Takeo and Harumi Uzumaki. Taiyuya answers sadly. I thought so. You look so much like your mother. Kushina says, and seeing the looks on their faces, she says, Harumi was my older sister. She and her husband left Whirlpool to go visit friends in Wave when Whirlpool was destroyed. So we really are cousins then. Taiyuya says with a smile. Yes, you are, and I'm not going to pressure you to call me Aunt Kushina or call Minato Uncle Minato. Take your time with that. Kushina says, well, I'm going to go and talk to Minato about making some room at the Namikaze's compound. She leaves and takes Kakashi with her, leaving the 4 younger ones alone. I'm sure that you are both tired, so we're going to go since we are tired as well. Since fighting Orochimaru and pushing ourselves to get here as fast as we could drained us a little more than it should have. Naruto says, get well, Karen, and get some rest as well, since we're going to have hard times ahead of us in the near future. Sakura says that it's been 5 days since the second part of the Chunin exam started. Sasuke woke up 3 days after he was put in the infirmary, and the curse mark started to spread over his body. With the help of Taiyuya, they were able to stop it from completely overtaking him. Kakashi and Minato took Sasuke to a room to seal the curse mark and warned him that the seal was only as strong as his will to not use the power, but they knew deep down that the fabled last Uchiha was only after power, and he would do anything to have it. We now see all of Team 7, Team 10, Team 9, Kabuto's team, the Sound team, a Mist team, and the Sand team in front of the Hokage and the Jonin instructors along with various other Jonin. Anko steps forward to address the Genin. Congratulations on making it this far, but it's far from over. Anko says and steps back. Thank you for that short speech, Anko. Saratobi says. As Anko said, congratulations. I'm sure you have made your respective villages proud for your exceptional skills. The exams are tough, but nonetheless necessary for us to see whether or not any of you deserve to be promoted. As Chunin, you are put as the team leader and will be put in charge of a squad, and sometimes you will be forced to move constantly. Also, all of you will be performing gruesome and challenging tasks in the name of your respective villages, So this test serves as guidance for your respective Kage to determine how each one of you behave under stressful situations, as these exams also replace war. Now, without further ado, we have a lot of participants, so we are in need of preliminary rounds. As a Hokage, says this, a man wearing a Jonin outfit appears. Excuse me, Lord Hokage, as proctor for the third and final part of the Chunin exams, I should be the one to conduct the preliminary rounds. The man says, very well, Hei, you may proceed. The Hokage says. Hei turns around to face the genin. My name is Hei Gecko, and I am the proctor for the final part of the Chunin exams. Before we continue, though, as stated by Lord Hokage, we are in need of preliminary rounds because the final part is a tournament. As it stands, there are too many of you to continue on to the finals immediately. Hei says, and Anko says something into the radio she has with her, and the slides covering the screen on the wall open. The screen you see behind me will choose the fights. These fights are random, so you may end up fighting a friend or teammate. If there are any who wish to withdraw, this is the time to do so. Know that if you withdraw, your team does not suffer since these will be one-on-one fights. Hei says, I wish to withdraw my name from the preliminaries. Kabuto says, and get a few weary looks from Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi, and the Hokage as Hei acknowledges Kabuto's withdrawal. Kabuto, why are you withdrawing? You seem just fine to me. Naruto asks, keeping up the facade that he knows nothing. I'm fine, Naruto. Kabuto says. Physically, that is, but I'm tired, and if I were to fight, I might not win because of my lack of sleep. Okay, then have a nice sleep. Naruto says, and sees the Hokage give the order for the Umbu located in the room to move in. In an Umbu prison cell, that is. Naruto says as 15 Umbu, Minato, Kushina, and Tia, who now has a Leaf Chunin outfit on, surround him with ninjados and katanas out, and in Taiyuya's case a flute. Kabuto Yakushi, you are under arrest for spying on the Leaf Village and working with Orochimaru, an S-class missing nin from the Leaf. Minato says, drawing his tri-pronged kunai. Surrender now, or die here. Unknown to everyone in the room, the sound Jonin sees in frustration as his top spy has been found out, and Taiyuya is now a Leaf Ninja, which means Karen is as well. What's your answer, Kabuto? Taiyuya asks, smiling and hoping he doesn't surrender. Kabuto sneers at Taiyuya and starts to make hand seals with speed that indeed rivals Kakashi's. Everyone down below scatters as they don't know what the jutsu does, and Naruto throws a kunai with speed that it wouldn't be able to be stopped in time and hits Kabuto's knee. Kabuto falls to the ground, but he heals it right away. There is music in the air, and Kabuto's quick to release the Jinjutsu that was put on him, but not quick enough as the cat Umbu operative impales him with her katana, killing him instantly. They take Kabuto's body to the morgue to be analyzed. Well, now that is taken care of, let's move on to the preliminaries. Hate says, and then the board cycles through the names. Will Sasuke Uchiha of the Leaf and Yoroi the Kato of the Leaf please stay, and everyone else move up to the balcony until your match has been called? Hate says, and everyone complies with the orders given to them. When Sasuke and Yoroi face off against each other, Hate stands with his hand in between them and looks at each of them to see if they are ready. When he sees that they are, he drops his hand, initiating the start of the match, and they separate from the center of the arena. Sasuke starts to do hand seals for his trademark jutsu. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Sasuke shouts when he lands on the tiger seal. Yoroi dodges it with ease and charges towards Sasuke with his hand outstretched, and Sasuke activates his Sharingan. Sasuke charges at Yoroi and throws a punch at him, but Yoroi deflects the punch and grabs Sasuke's head. Sasuke starts to feel his energy draining and looks at Yoroi and does a leg sweep and kicks him in the stomach to put some distance in between them, and Sasuke goes through another series of hand seals. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Sasuke shouts and fires many fireballs at Yoroi, who has a harder time dodging them, but is successful in the end. Sasuke grabs 3 kunai and throws them at Yoroi and charges at him once again and aims a kick at his head. Yoroi grabs Sasuke's leg, and Sasuke, anticipating this, twists his body and kicks Yoroi in the stomach, then the back of the head. Yoroi lets Sasuke go, and Sasuke rolls out of the way. "Yo, way to go, Sasuke, you rule." Ino yells, and everyone groans at her actions. Sasuke gets up off the ground and looks at Yoroi and notices him getting up as well. Yoroi shakes his head to get rid of the daze that kick put him in. He looks at Sasuke and charges at him with his hand outstretched. Sasuke pulls a kunai out of his kunai holster and charges at his opponent. And when they get closer, Sasuke lunges the kunai for Yoroi's hand and impales it with the kunai. Yoroi screams in agony, grabbing the kunai and pulling it out of his hand. He throws on the ground and looks at Sasuke with the intent of killing him. He runs straight at Sasuke blindly. Sasuke capitalizes on this and dodges the punch sent by Yoroi and throws one of his own and connects with his opponent's stomach. Yoroi buckles over in pain, and Sasuke kicks him in the head, making him fall backwards. Sasuke pulls out a kunai to slit his throat, but before he could, a hand grabs his own. Winner Sasuke Uchiha. Hate says, and Team 7 cheers along with Ino, while the Jonin and the Hokage clap their hands at the skills shown by both genin. The board cycles through the names again, and Hate calls out, "Will Shikamaru Nara of the Leaf and Kin Tsuchi of the Sound please come down to the arena?" Ino pushes Shikamaru over the edge, and he hits the floor hard. Troublesome woman. Shikamaru grumbles as he makes his way over to Kin and Hate. When Shikamaru reaches the center of the arena, Hate drops his hand, authorizing the start of the match. Shikamaru and Kin both jump back, and Kin grabs a couple Senbon and throws them at Shikamaru, but he dodges them and makes the rat hand seal. "What? Why can't I move?" Kin asks. Shikamaru smirks and says, "Shadow Possession Jutsu, success." Shikamaru then moves backwards as does Kin. Shikamaru grabs 3 kunai, and Kin grabs 3 Senbon. "Are you crazy? You're going to kill us both that way." Kin yells in shock, and Shikamaru throws the kunai, and Kin throws her Senbon. At the last minute, Shikamaru bends back and releases the jutsu, and Kin gets knocked out from her head, hitting the wall. Important ninja rule: always be aware of your surroundings. Shikamaru says. Winner Shikamaru Nara. Hate says, and the board picks the next matchup. Will Temari of the Sand and Tintin of the Leaf please come down to the arena? Hate calls, and Tintin jumps down over the railing while Temari opens her fan and glides down. As soon as Hate authorizes the start of the fight, Tintin pulls out a scroll and unfurls it. She jumps up into the air and spins and unseals the weapons that were in the scroll and launches them at Temari, who smirks and opens her fan. Temari swings at making a strong gust of wind deflect the weapons launched at her. Tintin pulls out another scroll and does the same thing only with more weapons, and she gets caught in Temari's wind jutsu and starts to fall to the ground and land on her weapons. Lee, seeing this, jumps into the air and catches her. Oomph. How pitiful. Take her back to the viewing area. She's weak, Temari says, and turns around, but stops when she hears Lee's voice call out to her. It doesn't matter how weak someone is, Lee says. As long as they try hard and continue to train, one can become strong through determination. Yeah, right, bushy brow freak, Temari says, and jumps up to the viewing area, as does Lee. Will Niji Hyuga of the Leaf and Saya of Mist please come down to the arena? Hate says, and they both jump over the railing and make their way to where Hate is, and he drops his hand, authorizing the start of the fight. Let's end this quickly, shall we? Saya says. I agree, Niji says, and gets into the Hyuga-style stance. You are in the range of my divination, 8 trigrams, 2 palms for palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms. Niji attacks her and ends the fight before it began. You lose. Winner Niji Hyuga. Hate says, and the board picks out 2 more names. Will Sakura Haruno of the Leaf and Ino Yamanaka of the Leaf please come down here? Hate says. Sakura, if you need to go ahead and use that. Naruto says, and Sakura nods her head and jumps down, as does Ino. Well, never thought this would happen, forehead. Ino says. Me neither, Piggy. Let's do our best. Sakura says, and Ino agrees. Hate starts the fight, and Sakura makes one-hand seal, shocking all the Leaf Jonin. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Sakura shouts, and 2 clones puff into existence, and all 3 charge at Ino and put her on the defense. On the viewing area. Kakashi, what are you teaching your team? The over-enthusiastic Mike guy asks. I really didn't teach Sakura anything other than 1 jutsu, Kakashi says. She learned that and other things from Naruto here. What? Guy screams. You mean she learned how to do the shadow clone jutsu from Naruto? He asks. Water style. Water bullet jutsu. They hear Sakura shout and a cry of pain from Ino. You bet bushier, brow sensei. Naruto says she learned it at age 8, as did I. She's also not using her full speed. That shocks everyone listening. I guess that she wanted to enjoy this fight with her friend, since it's now over. Back in the arena. Well done, Sakura. Ino says, panting as she uses the wall to help herself stand. You really are stronger than me. You could be strong too if you stopped chasing after Sasuke and actually trained. Sakura says, good night, Ino. Sakura moves at blinding speed and appears behind Ino and uses a hand chop to knock her out. Winner Sakura Haruno, Hate says. Way to go, Sakura. I knew you could do it. Naruto yells as she makes her way to the viewing area. I couldn't have done it without you. Sakura says to Naruto and kisses him on the lips, making Lee cry anime tears. Will Choji Akimichi of a leaf and Dosu Kinyuta of a sound please come down here? Hate says. Oh man, I don't think I can win. Choji says. Choji, if you try your hardest, I will treat you to barbecue. Asuma says. All right, Choji says and hops over the railing. When Choji reaches Dosu and Hate, he is smiling like an idiot. Hate authorizes the start of the match. Body expansion jutsu. Choji shouts, and his body becomes huge, human boulder. He then turns into a ball and rolls right towards Dosu, who just moves out of the way as Choji collides with the wall. Dosu walks up to him and uses his sound arm to knock him out. Winner, Dosu. Hate says as the board picks out 2 more names. Will Kankuro of the Sand and Misumi Tsurugi of the Leaf please come down here? Hate calls, and both fighters jump down. As soon as the match begins, Misumi stretches his body towards Kankuro and wraps around him. Give up, or else I'll snap your neck. Misumi says, and Kankuro smirks, so Misumi snaps Kankuro's neck, and there's an audible snap as Kankuro falls to the ground. Before the match could be called, though, Kankuro's body turns into a puppet. Kankuro appears out of the bandages and uses the puppet to attack Misumi and kills him. Winner, Kankuro. Hate says, and they take away Misumi's body, and the board cycles through the last 6 names to see who fights whom. Will Naruto, Namikaze, and Kogadaika please come down to the arena? Hate says, and they both jump over the railing. Are you both ready? Hate asks. Yes. The contestants say in unison. Begin. Hate says, dropping his hand. Koga charges at Naruto and pulls out a kunai. Naruto just dodges the strikes and then grabs Koga's wrist, smiling. Naruto punches Koga in the stomach and spins around, throwing him to the opposite end of the arena. Almighty push. Naruto says with his hand outstretched. Koga hits the wall and collapses in water. Substitution. Naruto exclaims and blocks a flurry of kunai with his katana. Gonna need to try harder than that. Koga says smugly. You should lose that sense of pride over everyone. A voice says behind Koga, shocking him. Next thing Koga feels is a chop to the neck. Winner, Naruto, Namikaze. Hate says, and the genin of the leaf cheer while the board cycles through the other 4 names. Will Zaku Abomi and Kato Satoshi please come down to the arena? Hate says, and they jump down to the arena. Are you both ready? Hell yeah. Zaku says excitedly. Yes. Kato says calmly. Begin. Hate says, dropping his hand. Zaku raises his hands. Decapitating air waves. Zaku shouts, and a gust of wind heads straight for Kato. Kato dodges at the last possible second, and Zaku's jutsu collides with the wall, making a spiderweb dent. That's a powerful jutsu you have there. Kato praises. But it's going to take a lot more than that to beat me. We'll see about that. Zaku says and raises his arms. Decapitating air waves. Zaku shouts again, and Kato dodges again. I told you. Kato says calmly, and Zaku uses the same jutsu over and over again. When are you going to learn? I have dodged your attack every single time you used it. Supreme decapitating air waves. Zaku screams. Kato smirks, dodging faster this time, and launching a barrage of shuriken. Shuriken Shadow. Clone Jutsu. Kato says, and his 10 shuriken turn into 100, making everyone's eyes widen in amazement, and Zaku is killed once the shuriken embed themselves into his skin. Winner, Kato Satoshi. Hate says as the medics cart Zaku's body away. Naruto takes a deep breath, fearing for his fellow Leaf shinobi as Hate calls for the last fighters. With Araki of the Leaf and Gaara of the Sand, please come down. Hate says. Naruto, he could die. Sakura says in a worried tone. I know, Sakura. Naruto says Lee is going to have a very difficult fight ahead of him, and if he survives, he will be very lucky. Right, Lee? This is your chance to show off your flames of youth. Guy says. Now pay close attention. That gourd on his back is awfully suspicious. He looks at Lee, who is writing it down, and Guy punches him. Don't write it down, you won't be able to look at your notes in the middle of a fight. He reprimands. Sorry, Guy-sensei. Lee says. Will the final participant please join us in the arena? Hate says, and Lee jumps over the edge. Kakashi-sensei, doesn't Bushier Brow-sensei know what Gaara is? Naruto asks. Yes, he does, but he also believes in something he calls the flames of youth, and he thinks that with it you can beat any opponent. Kakashi replies. That's crazy, he just sent Lee to his death. Sakura says shocked at the green-clad duo, and they start to pay attention when they hear Hate authorize the start of the match. Lee charges at Gaara and aims a kick straight for his head, but before his foot could connect, a sand defense is there to block it. Lee moves around and punches and kicks him every which way, but nothing he does can get through that defense. Lee moves away from him. Gaara studies his opponent with a cautious look. Lee moves toward him again, and he seems to be faster than before. Lee aims a punch for Gaara's head, but just like before, the sand blocks it. Only this time the sand starts to wrap around Lee's hand. Lee pulls back just in time. Gaara starts to go on the offense and pushes the sand towards Lee's location. Lee is startled at first, but moves out of the way of the sand. Lee rushes towards Gaara while his sand is behind him, thinking that he can't guard while the sand isn't there to protect him. Lee tries to kick Gaara's head, and sand is there to block the kick, just like all the times beforehand. Lee moves at blinding speed and appears on top of the Ram Seal statue. Lee, take them off. Guy says. But Guy-sensei, you said not to unless I was protecting someone precious to me. Lee says. I know what I said, and there are exceptions to the rule, and this is one of them. So take them off. Guy says, and Lee reaches down into his leg protectors and pulls out weights from each one. Like a couple of paper weights will make that much of a difference. Temari says, and Lee drops the weights, making 2 huge craters on each side of the statue, shocking everyone except Team 9. Lee then disappears in a blur and reappears on the side of Gaara and actually breaks through the defense, but couldn't hit him because of thickness of the sand. Lee tries everything he can, only for them all to fail. Lee has been going at it for 5 minutes, all the while dodging Gaara's attacks as well. Lee go ahead and open the gates. Guy says, and Lee unwraps the bandages on his arm. Guy, you taught him how to do that. Kakashi asks, disappointed in his friend and rival, that he would teach a genin how to do this. What are you talking about? Sakura asks. What are the gates? The 8 celestial gates. Naruto says, shocking both jonin. Within our bodies we have 8 major points, and those points have chakra within them. Opening them could give the user the power to rival Kages. That's correct. Ever since Lee was an academy student, he couldn't use ninjutsu nor jinjutsu. Guy says, and goes into explaining Lee's life up to the point of wanting to be like him. The first gate of opening, release. Lee says. The second gate of rest, release. The third gate of life, release. Lee's skin is now red, and his muscles are bulging through his clothes, and veins are starting to show on his head. Lee charges at Gaara and actually breaks through his defense and hits him, scaring the rest of the Sand team, since Gaara has never been hit before. Lee appears in front of Gaara and kicks him again. The sand tries to block it, but Lee's too fast for it to do what it's meant to do. Hidden Lotus! Lee shouts. He then moves at blinding speeds and kicks Gaara up into the air multiple times, and then he does a barrage of hits. The Sand team is fearful for their lives as they see Gaara getting the shit kicked out of him. Lee goes to the finishing move by wrapping bandages around Gaara and punches him in the stomach, and Gaara hits the ground, making a huge dent in it. Lee lands on the ground, and everyone thinks that he won, but Gaara comes out of nowhere and moves his sand towards Lee, and it only gets as far as his left arm and leg. Sand coffin, sand burial. Gaara says and crushes Lee's leg and arm, and Guy appears in front of Lee to shield him from Gaara's attacks. Winner Gaara. Hate says as the doctors take Lee away on a stretcher to start healing him, and Guy goes with him. This concludes the preliminaries. Will the finalists please come down here? Lord Hokage has a few words he would like to say. Everyone jumps down over the railing, or in Shikamaru's case, walk downstairs. Congratulations on your matches. The Hokage says. These were held in a way that you didn't know what skills your opponents had. Now that you do know what skills your opponent has, or now that your skills have been shown, you may want to improve or learn new techniques to help you in the tournament held in a month from now. Why a month? Naruto asks, even though he already knows the answer. This month is not only a time for you to train, but also for me to inform other countries' lords and kages that the first 2 parts of the Chunin exams have ended and invite them to watch the tournament to see how this year's Genin do, and also to help with the economy. By doing well in the tournament, you also are showing your village's strength, so you will help get more mission requests. Now, if there are no more questions, Hate, if you will. Yes, Lord Hokage. Hate says, if you would please form a line, I will come to you, and you will pick a piece of paper out of this box and read off the number on it. 9, Dosa says. 3, Naruto says. 2, Kankuro says. 7, Temari says. 6, Gaara says. 10, Kato says. 1, Sasuke says. 4, Neji says, and Naruto smirks. 5, Sakura says, and Naruto gets a worried look on his face. 8, what a drag. Shikamaru says, and Hate finishes writing down their names. Now, then I'm sure you're curious as to what those numbers mean. Hate says, the numbers correspond to the numbers on this bracket and who you will be fighting in the tournament in a month's time. So as it stands, Sasuke will fight Kankuro, Naruto will be fighting against Neji, Sakura will be fighting against Gaara, Shikamaru will be fighting against Temari, and Dosu will be fighting against Kato. So now that you know who you will be fighting against, you can properly prepare for your matchups. Hate says, and turns to Hiruzen. Lord Hokage, do you have anything that you wish to add? Hate asks. No, nothing at all, except good luck to all of you in the coming month. You may go and prepare. Sarutobi says, and the Genin, along with their Jonin senseis, head to the entrance of the tower and head towards the Forest of Death to get back to the village. Many times skip at the Namikaze compound. Sakura, how are you doing? Naruto asks his girlfriend. To be honest, Naruto, I'm scared. Sakura says as she sits down at the kitchen table. I know that I don't stand a chance against him. If I fight, I most likely will die. Sakura, listen to me. I know for a fact that you are not going to die. Naruto says, you know how I know? It's because I will not let you die. If I see that you're going to die, I will step in and stop him from killing you. Also, you can show enough skill to prove that you are Chunin material and then give up during the fight. Naruto's writes Sakura. Kushina says as she walks in the kitchen. Anybody who knows about Gaara and his condition will not blame you if you do give up. You two have proven yourselves as Chunin already. Minato says as he appears in the kitchen as well. I would personally give you the promotion right now if I could, but since I can't, there's only one thing left to do. What? Naruto and Sakura ask in unison. Train so that you can become Chunin. Kushina says. That's right. Kakashi said that he would be training Sasuke in the use of his Sharingan and for the fight against Gaara as well. Minato says, and Sakura puts her head down in shame. Sakura, you have nothing to be ashamed of. Naruto says, fighting against Gaara is insane if you don't have the power of a tailed beast behind you. Kid, aren't you forgetting that your mate does have some of my chakra in her as well? Since you two had your fun tonight before the exams, I believe it's about 1.5 taels worth, and that will go up with training. So she will be able to harness my chakra and use it without trouble. Kurama asks, no, I didn't forget. I just didn't want her to have to resort to using your chakra. Naruto replies, plus using it may result in costing us the promotion to Chunin, but I'll ask. According to Kurama, since that night, you do have some of his chakra in your system. Naruto says, he says it's about 1.5 taels worth, and I brought up the argument that using his chakra could cost you the Chunin promotion. Naruto looks at Minato. Is that true using Kurama's chakra? Could that cost us the promotion since we're using demon chakra? Naruto asks, the very chakra everyone knows and fears. It shouldn't. Minato says, You two use whatever you have to, and how did Sakura get Kurama's chakra to begin with? Minato asks with a knowing smile. Well, you see, Naruto says. You don't mean that you two? Kushina asks, and Naruto and Sakura smile sheepishly. My god. I can't believe my baby already. Kushina, calm down, Minato says, putting his hands on her shoulders. In the eyes of the village, they're legally adults, so what they did is perfectly natural. Natural? Kushina asks, glaring at Minato. There is nothing natural about two 12-year-olds having sex. Now you two, Kushina says, and she looks in the direction where Naruto and Sakura were. Now where did they go? She asks, looking around. On the Hokage monument. That was quick thinking, Naruto, Sakura says, taking a deep breath. Yet at least we're safe for now, Naruto says. Until we head back home, that is. Sakura adds. That's what you think, a voice says behind them, and they turn around to see their worst nightmare. A pissed-off Kushina Namikaze. Mom, you aren't going to kill your own son and his girlfriend, are you? Naruto asks. No, I wouldn't do anything like that, Kushina says, and Naruto and Sakura sigh in relief. I'm just going to train you harder than you have ever before, Kushina says with a smile that would make Orochimaru shiver in fear. So guess what? Enjoy today, because training begins tomorrow. Time to get up, Kushina yells. Naruto looks at his clock. Mom, it's only 4 o'clock in the morning. He says, can't we sleep for another hour at least? Naruto yawns, pulling the covers over his head. Kushina walks over to him and yanks the covers off. Nope, now get up, get dressed, and meet me downstairs in 2 minutes for a quick breakfast because training starts in 7 minutes. What? That's not enough time, Naruto says. Want to make 1 minute? Kushina asks. I'm up, Naruto says as he gets dressed in record time and heads downstairs to get something to eat. When he gets there, all he sees is 2 plates with 2 rice balls each. What kind of breakfast is this? He asks. The quick kind, now hurry up and eat, Kushina says, and Naruto grumbles something that sounded like slave driver. What did you say, Naruto? Kushina asks in a little too nice of a voice. Nothing, Naruto says quickly as he sits down to start eating his breakfast, and Sakura enters the kitchen. I was thinking that I would have to go and get you again, Kushina says, and Sakura sits down to start eating her breakfast. 5-minute time skip. In the Namikaze training ground, Kushina is explaining the training that Naruto and Sakura will be doing. After she is done, they start to run laps around the compound. When they asked how many, she just told them, until I tell you to stop. 5 hours later, Naruto and Sakura are still running, but they are getting sluggish. Pick up the pace, you're slowing down, Kushina says, and Naruto and Sakura do as she says. Man, your mom is a real slave driver, Sakura says to Naruto in between breaths. I know what you mean, Naruto replies. We never used to run this much in the mornings or this early. After another 2 hours of running, Kushina speaks up. All right, that's enough running. Now get over here. They slowly make their way towards her. Hurry up, Kushina says. Do you want to continue into the night? They pick up their pace and get to Kushina in a few seconds. That's better. Now, before we begin the rest of your warm-up. When Kushina says this, both Chunin turn ghostly white. I have just one question. Why did you two? At such a young age. She asks. Why didn't you wait until you were much older? Well, you see, Naruto says. We knew that there was a chance that we could die during the exams. So we spent the night together in case we never got the chance. Sakura says. We are ninja now, and death is just waiting for us, as we saw during the exams. We could die, and we love each other, and we wanted no regrets between us. Don't worry, I won't get pregnant since I did the jutsu to stop that from happening. She explains. Well, I guess I can't fault you for that, but you're still young, and I don't want to be a grandparent anytime soon, and I don't think Minato does either. Kushina says. You are right, Sakura, you are ninja now, and death could come at any time, especially with what Karen and Tayuya said. So I'm not going to punish you too, as long as I was going to, since you have a valid reason. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to go unpunished since you are still young. Instead of a month of harsh training, it will only be 2 weeks. You are still getting up at 4 in the morning, though, and running until I say stop. Kushina says, smiling at the two of them. Now, to continue the warm-ups. I want 300 push-ups and 350 sit-ups. Now get started. She orders. 300. Naruto asks. We do 500 in the mornings. Okay, then it's a 1,000. Kushina says, and they both groan as they start doing their sit-ups. Minato walks out onto the training ground and goes up to Kushina. Don't you think that you are being a little hard on them? Minato asks. No, I don't, Minato. Kushina says, I think that I'm being lenient on them considering what they did. Kushina. Minato sighs. I just want you to really think about who you are really punishing. What do you mean, Minato? Kushina asks. I am punishing them for their actions the night before the start of the exams. She looks at him confused and wondering what he could mean. Are you punishing them, or are you punishing yourself for not being here and taking it out on them? Minato asks, placing a hand on her shoulder. Kushina, I know it's hard to accept, but our little boy most likely would have done that if we weren't here. You're right, Minato. I am punishing myself. I should have been able to protect my baby from this village. Kushina says, but that doesn't mean what they did was right. They are still young, and I don't want to be a grandparent yet. Do you? She asks. No, I don't, but I also heard Sakura say that she used a jutsu to stop that from happening. Minato says, I also agree with you. They should have waited to do what they did until they were older. Mom, Dad. Naruto says Kurama says it was his fault that this happened earlier than Sakura, and I would have liked. He messed with my body to make my hormones go crazy. Kurama did this? Kushina asks in disbelief as Naruto's eyes turn red and slitted and his whiskers become darker. Yes, I did. Kurama says, I knew how much these two loved each other, so I made Naruto's hormones go crazy. But if you ask me, it was going to happen sooner or later with how much the vixen teased him. Okay, Kurama, that's enough of that. Bring Naruto back, please. Sakura says with a huge blush covering her cheeks. Did Kurama take control of me? Naruto asks irritatedly as his features return to normal. Yes, he did, and he also said that what you and Sakura did was bound to happen sooner or later with as much teasing as she did. Kushina says, and Naruto blushes the same shade of red as Sakura. Well, considering it wasn't your fault this happened. Kushina sighs. I suppose that your punishment can be lifted, even if it was bound to happen sooner or later. Now we could just move on to training you against the opponents you'll be facing. Sakura, your opponent, uses sand. So I would focus on getting a few lightning jutsus into your arsenal since sand is earth and earth is weak against lightning. Also a few water jutsus since water makes sand denser. Kushina says and looks at Naruto. Your opponent is a Hyuga. So I would focus on using long distance to stay away from the gentle fist strikes. The Byakugan is a dangerous ocular jutsu to face since they can see chakra points and close them by using their chakra and hitting them. It would also be wise to assume that he knows how to do the Hyuga defense called rotation. That is when the user spins and pushes chakra out from their body, creating an impenetrable defense. So how could I get through it then? Naruto asks, if I need to be at a distance, how can I beat him? That is one of the things that you will be learning this month. Kushina says with a smile. Don't worry by the time that I am done with you and you get through the Chunin exams. There's going to be a Chunin vest for each of you. No doubt about it. Kushina says with a smile. Kushina, how are you going to train us both since it's possible that Naruto and I could face each other in the tournament? Sakura asks. To be honest, Sakura, that is most likely when Orochimaru will attack. Also, since sand is involved, they may use Gaara to do more damage to the leaf than both the Hidden Sound and Sand villages combined. Minato says. Also, even though you have Kurama's chakra, you may not be able to win. The chances just went up though. If she trains using Kurama's chakra, she may be able to win. Naruto says. And since Kurama's chakra is fiery, it could burn the sand to the point turning it to glass. Sakura is able to summon the foxes to aid her if needed. I don't need to train as hard since nobody knows the most of what I can do since I hardly used any jutsu. I just need to hone my skills. I could even take over Sakura's training since no one else can train her in the use of Kurama's chakra. Naruto, I don't want to rely on his chakra though. Sakura says as she looks into his eyes. Sakura, I wouldn't be teaching you so that you use it all the time. I will be teaching you so that it doesn't consume you since it reacts to anger and hate. If you don't harness the power, it could consume you and make you go crazy. Naruto says, easing her worries. If I do train Sakura, this gives you two a chance to learn new things as well and not be tied down to us holding you back. Naruto says, looking at his parents. Naruto, you don't hold us back. If anything, you help us move forward. Kushina says. But you do have a point. Minato adds. I've been trying to develop a seal that could hold back the power of a Jinchuriki so that you wouldn't have to fight this Gaara. Minato says. Okay, then Naruto, you will be training Sakura in controlling Kurama's chakra while your mother and I learn new things and hone our skills. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office. I hate paperwork, even if Minato helped me figure out how to get it done easier. Sarutobi says aloud to himself. You realize that they say the first steps to insanity is when you start talking to yourself, sensei. A voice says behind him in the window. It's good to see you again, Jiraiya. Hiruzen says, turning around. I was wondering when you were going to stop by again. It's good to see you too, sensei. My spy network has been keeping tabs on Orochimaru, but nothing significant has happened. Jiraiya says. Sarutobi laughs at that. Well, then it seems that your spy network is slipping, since I have it on good authority that Orochimaru is planning on invading the Leaf with his village and the hidden sand. We just don't know how he got sand involved. Whose authority, sensei? Jiraiya asks, surprised. I've been keeping tabs on him since he defected from the Leaf years ago. It is Taiyuya and Karen Uzumaki, Naruto's cousins. Sarutobi says, and explains how after seeing the shocked look on his perverted student's face. When they were young, Orochimaru killed their parents and blamed it on rogue ninja or bandits and took them with him. Taiyuya, the oldest, was given the curse mark and became one of his bodyguards. Taiyuya has been trying to find a way to get her and her sister out of his clutches, but has had no luck. That is until Naruto and Sakura found Karen and took her to the tower in the Forest of Death during the Chunin exams. Sensei, they could still be working for Orochimaru. Jiraiya says, I've already thought of that, so I had Inoichi enter both their minds to see if they were still working for Orochimaru, and they aren't. Sarutobi explains. In fact, he also told us about a traitor within our ranks by the name of Kabuto Yakushi. He is now in the morgue. At least Naruto has family again, Jiraiya says as he looks at Minato's face on the Hokage monument. How is Naruto? He asks. Naruto is just fine. He has had a hard life, and he is mad at you, Jiraiya. Sarutobi says, and Jiraiya looks at him in shock. I'm not going to lie to you. He blames you for the hard life he has had. He knows what you have been doing and that you run the spy network for us. But he thinks that you could have dropped by every now and then to see him, especially on his birthday. Jiraiya, I'm inclined to side with him on that subject. Because of you, he had to spend time in the orphanage and then get thrown out at age 4. You know why? Hiruzen asks with a raised voice. Because he killed multiple villagers and shinobi alike, protecting his friend that he made, and then her parents disowned her that very night. A couple years later, he awoke his bloodline after his friend was almost killed in front of him. I then told both of them who his parents were, and now they both are living at the Namikaze compound. Naruto told me that if you offer to train him in any way, he would decline it, and that you would also have to earn the right to be recognized as his godfather. He said that. Jiraiya asked, shocked that his own godson would say something like that. I'm afraid so, Jiraiya. Sarutobi says, you have no one to blame but yourself. What is the bloodline that he awoke called? Jiraiya asks. The Rinnegan. Hiruzen replies. Jiraiya's eyes open wide. He hasn't heard of anyone having the Rinnegan since Nagato, one of the orphans that he and his teammates ran into during the Second Great Ninja War. He has the Rinnegan. I should have guessed that was it since you said that he saw a friend almost die in front of him. I'm going to go see him even if he doesn't want to see me. I have to see Minato's and Kushina's son, Jiraiya says, and he turns to leave. Before you do, there is something that you should know. Sarutobi says, they're alive, Jiraiya. Who's alive? Jiraiya asks, and then his eyes open wide. You can't mean Minato and Kushina? We buried them. There is no way that they can be alive. They are Jiraiya. They have been hunting down their enemies from the past so that Naruto would be safe when they returned. They returned a couple of months ago, actually. Naruto doesn't blame them for what happened that night, since he knows that someone was pulling the strings. Someone else did the Reaper Death Seal. It was a gravely injured Uchiha by the name of Momoto. The only ones who knew that they were alive were the Fire Lord and the Toads. They knew how to hide from you for 13 years, Jiraiya. Sarutobi says. I realize that sensei. I know that my actions have caused a very impressionable young man to hate me. I have no excuse for that, and I accept that it will take time for him to warm up to me and see me as his godfather. Jiraiya says with tears in his eyes, I'm gonna go and see the Namikaze family now. Jiraiya uses a shunshin to appear outside the Namikaze residence. He is hesitant, but he opens the door and goes into the living room and nobody is there, so he goes to the training ground and sees Minato and Kushina standing there talking to children wearing leaf headbands. Must be Naruto and his friend that sensei told me about. Jiraiya thinks to himself, well, here goes nothing. He says low so no one can hear him and goes onto the training ground. Hello, Minato, Kushina. Jiraiya sensei, nice to see you again. Minato says, so this is my absentee godfather. Naruto says, hello, Lord Jiraiya. He says with a little bit of an icy tone, and Kushina reprimands him for it. That's all right, Kushina. Jiraiya says, I deserve that. I should have been here for him. I have no excuses for not being here. Damn straight you should have been here. Naruto says hotly, I had a horrible life along with Sakura. We were in the hospital so many times I actually lost count around 50, and that was only at 5 years old, and I knew how to count. Who knows how many times before that for me alone. Naruto is now on the verge of tears. Sakura goes up to him and wraps him in her arms as she has tears in her eyes as well. Naruto, I know that it will take a while for you to forgive me, if ever. Jiraiya says, Sarutobi sensei told me what you told him when you found out that I am your godfather. I know that I have a lot to make up for, and I would like a chance to make it up to you. That is if you will give me the chance. Jiraiya, I know that you run the spy network for the Leaf, so I do understand why you were gone. Naruto says, that doesn't change the fact that you could have stopped by every once in a while to see how I was doing. So for the fact that you run the spy network, I guess I can give you a chance to make up for your past faults. One rule stands out: you have to earn the right to be seen as my godfather, since you have done pretty lousy at the job description. As I recall, it's supposed to be the godparent's job to take care of their godchild if anything should happen to their parents. I suppose I could let you train me on the condition that you don't do any peeping on women in the hot springs, and you also have to train Sakura as well. Why would he peek on women in the hot springs instead of training us? Sakura asks. Before Naruto could respond, Kushina speaks up. You know those orange books that people read? She asks, and Sakura nods her head. Well, this pervert wrote them. He would most likely tell you how to do something and then leave you to figuring it out on your own with no guidance. I have to agree with Naruto on this. If you do train us, you have to swear not to peek on any women when training us, not just at the hot springs. Sakura says, glaring into Jiraiya's eyes, and her eyes flare red and become their normal sea green, once again shocking everyone but Naruto. Sakura, do you have any idea what just happened? Minato asks. What do you mean, Minato? Sakura asks, confused as to what they're talking about. He means that your eyes flashed red, and it sort of looked like the Sharingan. Kushina answers, trying to wrap her head around how Sakura obtained the Sharingan. Oh, well, the reason my eyes look like the Sharingan is because I have something similar to the Sharingan. Sakura says nonchalantly. How, when? Kushina can't properly form sentences. Next thing they know is Naruto is talking in a different voice than normal. I can explain that. Naruto says. Kurama, is that you? Minato asks. Yes. Now as to why Kit's mate has an ocular jutsu is my doing. During the act that these two did before the start of the Chunin exams, when my chakra was fused into her, I messed with her DNA a little bit. She is still a Haruno, but I gave her something similar to the Sharingan, not the Sharingan exactly, since I hate the damn thing. There's no name for it, yet since I just created it on a whim. If you look closely, you would notice that even if her eyes turn red, instead of Tomo, it's lightning bolts. It was a gift for staying by Naruto, even though he told her multiple times that she could have left him be and stopped the pain that was being inflicted on her for being his friend. Sakura has always wanted to protect him from harm, and I just gave her a tool to help her with her dream. All it does is give her the power to copy the 5 main elements and use them without straining her chakra. In essence, she has an affinity for them, but not really. As I said, she can use them like she has an affinity for them. For example, Naruto and Sakura are sparring with each other. Naruto uses a lava-style jutsu. It takes someone with a strong affinity with water to put out lava-style jutsu. So Sakura would use a water jutsu, and it would stop the lava jutsu in its tracks. If someone who didn't have an affinity for water did try, then it would only hold for about a second, and the lava would still keep moving. If she used a jutsu that she didn't copy, it would put a strain on her chakra, like it would for a person who didn't have an affinity for the element. Think of it as an improved Sharingan. She can put people in a Jin jutsu with it, and lets her see things at a slower pace. Kurama explains, "If you will excuse me, this puts a strain on my chakra, so I will be going now." Naruto's eyes start to become normal, and the whisker marks start to become less defined, and the fangs disappear. Damn him. A little warning next time would be appreciated. Naruto says heatedly. Wait, this has happened before. Jiraiya asks worriedly. There is nothing to worry about. Kurama only does that when he needs to give a long explanation to something. He doesn't do it often since it drains his chakra to do so. Naruto explains. What did he say this time? He asks. Oh, nothing much. He mentioned a certain act that you and Sakura shared, and he gave her something similar to the Sharingan. Jiraiya says with a smile. Drop the pervy act, or I will not allow you to train us. Naruto says hotly. Naruto, that is enough. Minato says sternly. I am Soledad. Naruto says, putting his head down. I know how much Jiraiya means to you. While all three of you were absent my entire life, you and Mom are the only ones who have a legitimate reason to not be around. Naruto then looks at Jiraiya. I apologize for my actions recently. Naruto, you have nothing to apologize for. Now, then I guess I have 2 new students to train. I promise that I will do no peeping while we are training. Jiraiya says, but Sakura interrupts him. Also no cutting training short to go peeping either. Sakura says, I also promise not to cut training short. Jiraiya adds, Jiraiya-sensei, how about you have them sign the Toad contract? Minato suggests. All right, I was going to have Naruto sign it anyway, and I guess having 4 people summon the Toads would be a good advantage in case the invasion happens. Jiraiya says, and everyone is surprised he knew. Sensei told me about Tayuya and Karen and how my ex-teammate killed their parents. I am Sota Kushina. Speaking of Tayuya and Karen, where are they? Well, Tayuya is a Chunin, and she is on a mission at the moment, and Karen is with her new Genin team, training and doing missions. Kushina says, so it's just us at the moment. Okay, then I guess I will meet them later. Jiraiya says, and pulls the scroll off of his back and opens it. Now, then what you need to do is write your name next to Minato's in your blood with the hand you write with. Naruto, why don't you go first? Naruto kneels down on the ground and bites his thumb and starts to write his name, and when he is finished, he uses the blood on his thumb and puts it on his other fingers and presses them onto the scroll. Good job. Sakura, you're up. Sakura does the same thing Naruto did, and when she is finished, Jiraiya picks up the scroll and puts it on his back once again. Now, then since you signed the contract, you now are able to summon the Toads to aid you in battle. Now here are the hand seals. Jiraiya then shows the hand seals. Got it, he asks, and Naruto and Sakura nod their heads. Okay, then give it a try. Naruto and Sakura start to fly through the hand seals and then slam their hands on the ground. Summoning jutsu. Naruto and Sakura scream.